Hello and welcome to Sip and Spin. My name is Skylar, and over here in socks that say "How you doing?" in Joey Tribbiani fashion is Brittany.
Hello. This is a podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing. The one we're best at.
Oh, for sure. Though I may have a little extra than just nothing to talk about today.
Yes, Skylar is very gung-ho about today, so why don't you just tell them what we're doing today? There's a ghost in here, Skylar, I think is what that means.
I've never seen her eyes so dilated.
Always walk around the house and she just stares in random corners. We're pretty used to it, but yeah, she
all right.
She's in a mood. And now she's like, bye, you guys can have this room. I've seen enough. So my cat just saw a demon and then she bounced. So
And left us in here.
Anyway.
Yes, what we're talking about today, our topic is psychology.
Woo woo! Except I don't actually know a whole lot about psychology, so.
I have 12 pages of notes.
I do not. So I will get through my segment very, very quickly, and then I will sit back with my glass of white wine, because that is what we are drinking, and I will let Skylar tell me all about psychology. The white wine we are drinking is called Kung Fu Girl. It's a Riesling, and it's one of the only white wines I like, so.
Because it's a dry Riesling, which means if Brittany likes it, that means I probably won't like it.
It's honestly not. I don't think it's that dry. I've had drier. See if you like it. You picked the last white wine.
It's only fair. I guess you get a turn.
Shall we try? You're getting better at your control.
I know, I'm not going to break things. Okay, that's good.
Okay, like I said, it's not that dry. So yes, you approve?
I like.
Yeah, this is like my favorite white wine. I recommend Kung Fu Girl.
It is very good. I second recommend. Second recommendation. I second that.
There you go. You got there.
I know words and how to put them together.
Alright, anything else to be said?
How was your day?
It's okay. I think. It was raining and gross all day, so that kind of sucked, but.
Driving home, I had to put, like, the windshield wipers on, like, full blast, and I was like.
Yeah, my windshield sucks, so I'm about the same, too. It's just so I hear you didn't get much sleep.
No, I did not. So Wednesday the 27th was my birthday, and two of my friends couldn't come to my house on Wednesday, so they invited me over yesterday, Friday the 29th, for dinner. And I was like, Bree, she asked me, she was like, is 8:30 okay? I was like, yeah, that's fine. I just can't stay long because tonight is supposed to be a hair washing night and I still have to finish my notes for the podcast. And she was like, okay. So I get over there and I have dinner. Everything was nice. It was like 9:30 and I was like, all right, I'm going to go home so that way I can finish my notes and take a shower and everything. And next thing I know is 11:47 at night, so I didn't get home until like after midnight. And then that's a good song by Wavy, by the way, if anyone's wondering. After Midnight by Wavy, good song.
This is not the music segment.
But nonetheless, I get home a little after midnight, and so then I have to start doing my notes. I just quit with the idea of washing my hair. I'm going to do that first thing tomorrow morning. I did take a shower, though, because I shower every night. I just don't wash my hair every day because it's not good for your hair to wash it every single night.
It's true.
But it was supposed to be a hair washing night. I just made it not be one. So that way I could do my notes. But I was still up until, let's see, what time did I text you?
It was like 1 something.
I'm pretty sure it was past 2.
Oh, that was like 1:50. Close to 2.
Okay, yeah, it was 1:55 is when I texted Brittany and was like, I finished all of my notes.
Yeah. So, I did not put that much work into my notes because I know that this is very much Skylar's thing. It is not very much mine. So mine is a very, very shallow dive into my topic. I think I've taken 1 psychology class, but again, as with every episode, I went to art school. They didn't really care that much about these kinds of topics.
I took honors psychology my junior year of high school and took AP psychology my senior year of high school, and I passed the AP psychology exam with a 4.
Yeah, so this is not my area, guys. So we're just gonna do a little tiptoe into the psychology of attraction is what I chose, because it seemed to be the most like something we all probably already know because it's very just ingrained, and it seems the funniest also because these are pretty bad research. So
you're like me in the first episode.
Yeah, like I just googled like random psychology of attraction facts, and we're just gonna do like a quick little bullet point type thing in them. And I'm sure Skylar knows a lot more than I do about any of it.
Well, we'll see if it comes back to me, because I don't remember a lot. I remember there are like I think there's like 7 aspects, like 5 to 7 aspects that go into the like what makes you attracted to someone else. I think it's 5. I think there are 5.
I'm gonna already tell you, I probably didn't even do that much. I literally just have different, like, here's a research people did. This is the test people did. So I don't go into any of the like defining, or because I wanted to keep it very light because I know yours is very lengthy, and so I just wanted to get some quick like interesting bullet points that I thought. But again, it's also a lot of common sense because you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense, we all know that. So at the very, very base of attraction, who we desire is driven by powerful evolutionary forces. Why most of us are drawn to looks first, whether or not you want to admit it. It is more complex than it appears at first sight, and it can sometimes seem that you might not be able to say who you fall for, quote unquote. But according to psychology professor Glenn Gear, humans have a lot of control in this, and you can make yourself like anyone, so you can't use that bullshit excuse of, I didn't mean to fall for you, because you can. You can make yourself fall for anyone. You can overcome an initial unwise attraction, no matter how powerful, and be drawn to a great partner, even if it isn't lust at first sight. And then it tells you like you can take all these steps, and it's all just ingrained in you. And I will go ahead and do a blanket. A lot of these tests and research that I saw, it was specifically heterosexual couples. I don't know if it changes, if it's anything different. They're probably just better than heterosexual people because as you'll see, I have a lot of opinions when it comes to men in all these studies. So I just want to blanket that each one did specifically say it was like men and women for each other. So take that as you will. So jumping right into the first study we're going to talk about. In a 1997 study, it found that the most attractive qualities in a person came down to self-care. So basically, people found people the most attractive, as features-wise, came down to good posture, noticeable grooming, nice-fitting clothing, a seemingly positive attitude, and a healthy weight. Which that last one, I feel like, is subjective, but it's fine, whatever. But from 1997, it was basically like, hey, if you look like you take care of yourself, you're more attractive. Yeah, duh. Why wouldn't you think that person looks nice if they take care of themselves? So that's what a lot of this is going to be about. Common sense, like, yeah, duh, you're an idiot for doing tests in this, but it's fine.
How you said good posture, and I'm over here slouching despite the fact that I had trained my posture when I did ballet, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm done.
Speaking of good posture, though, actually, like 3 weeks ago, I did buy like a posture corrector, and so I'm not wearing it now, but I try to wear it every so often, and sometimes I'll catch myself like this, but like as I'm reading this, I'm just like slumped over my laptop, and I'm like, yeah, they're more attractive if they have good posture. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That's not me.
It's like, I have ticked none of these boxes, but you know what?
Yeah. Nice fitting clothing. I wear baggy clothing all the time.
Oversized clothing.
And a seemingly positive attitude. Oof. Like,
I'm a bitch.
It's not looking good for me, guys. Good thing I've locked one down. Luckily, he's too lazy to move on. Okay, now this one is the one that a lot of people probably are aware of, even if you're not, because it seems ridiculous, but it also, I guess, makes a lot of sense, because humans are very basic bitches. So there have been many, many studies that show, again, in heterosexual men and women, it goes both ways, where they were more attracted to the person they were talking to if they were wearing red. So, of course, this goes down to red being a primal color. It's associated with health and fertility.
Primary?
Primal. Did I say primary?
No, you said primal. Is it not primary color? Is red not a primary color?
Red is a primary color. You're all right, yes. But in this instance, it like primal, like like your base.
I didn't go to art school, and I thought
primal
it was
urges.
Primary.
I mean, it is both, technically, yes. You are correct. But again, like going from like a nature standpoint, it's like health, fertility, also power. Usually red means like you're strong, that sort of thing.
Gosh, turn off your ringer. You're interrupting our podcast.
It was Webtoon.
Oh.
One of my favorite stories got updated.
I still haven't looked at that yet.
Oh, I love it. It's Lore Olympus. Gotta go read about some mythology, guys. But yeah, and red, the color red plays in a lot of psychology, not even just this. But for example, there's studies that show that if you drive a red car, you're more likely to get pulled over than any other color. It's just because red is so, like, quote unquote powerful, I guess, and it stands out. So yeah, you're gonna notice people maybe more when they're wearing red, or it's like women wear like red lipstick to draw eyes to their red lips. Also, I dressed for today. I'm wearing red.
Nice. I'm wearing a shirt with Tupac on it.
I hope that plays into your
Not
segment.
At all.
Another really common thing that you might not think about, but it's very obvious, it's common to develop feelings for someone you know. As someone who pretty much always falls in love with people, I can attest to this. Because the more I get to know you, the more likely I am to fall in love with you. A person's attractiveness is much more than skin deep. This is where this would come into. So, a 2014 study by Paul Eastwick and Lucy Hunt found that perceptions of a person can change with time, and that the shift can either decrease or increase their level of attraction. Yes, obviously. That makes sense. We all know this. That's how you make friends. So if a person was seen as physically attractive, or perhaps not as physically attractive at first sight, that can change as their interests, sense of humor, and other shared qualities become known. This process is called quote-unquote slow love. Anecdote about this part, I read this segment and I was like, oh, cool. And slow love was hyperlinked, so I clicked on it thinking it was going to like go into more detail about this term or whatever.
Did it take you to a song?
No, It was, I clicked on it and it just took me to a weird site, and it was titled in really big text, casual sex may be improving America's marriages. One night stands and friends with benefits are just what your brain ordered. So I mean, I don't know what that has to do with this study.
I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with that.
But no, like, do you? But I was expecting it to go in deep with this.
But for slow love? Like, that's not, like...
Trust me, I was just as confused as you, and I was much more sober. And it was blue, it was underlined, it was hyperlinked, and I was like, oh, cool, it's gonna explain this a little bit more. No, it's just like, do you have casual sex? I'm like, okay, but that doesn't seem to relate to this. So just a fun little fact that tripped me up last night. Okay, so another experiment in 2011 found that using smaller gestures, like talking slowly, leaning backward, are non-threatening cues that allow a date to feel more comfortable. They'll most likely loosen up, and then when you see that, you can get more animated. This balance between nonverbal cues is deemed attractive, since you're honoring personal space and later showcasing your personality. So I'm a fast, nervous talker, and someone who leans forward a lot with my arms crossed, so this explains many things about why people avoid me. Because I do the opposite of all of these things. I don't know how I got Richard. Must be my meanness. Or my red hair. Let's just blame the red hair.
It's that powerful red hair.
It had to be, because nothing else is me. Seriously, I find myself just sitting crossed-armed, leaning forward all the time. But apparently you're supposed to lean back and have open whatever.
Yeah, no, I sit like this, I cross my legs, I cross my arms, and I like get very like make myself smaller because I get stressed out, and I'm like, please don't look at me.
Yeah, and I talk really fast also, but no, you're supposed to talk slow and be dainty, but no. I'm not.
I have not been dainty a day in my life. Even when I did ballet, I was not dainty.
Ballet was hard. Ballet always seems hard. I'm basing this purely on Black Swan, the movie, with Natalie Portman.
I did it for like 4 years. I don't remember a lot of things, but I remember some of the, like, I don't remember any of the names, but I still remember, like, my form. And I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. No surprise, a 2017 study found that men experience love at first sight more often than women. If you've ever met a man in your life, that makes sense. Because men are just like, yes, I love you. You're my everything. 5 minutes later, I love you. You are my everything. It's just like, I've read that and it's like, yeah, they do.
That's so funny because just last night when I was at Jacob and Bree's, they've both been married for years, I think. They've been married to each other for 3 years now. But apparently when they started dating...
Oh gosh. Are we going to have to edit those out?
No, they should be fine with me telling it. I'll ask them if they're not and let you know. But a week after, because I just found this out last night and I started cracking up.
Oh, nice.
But a week after they started dating, Jacob got really, really drunk and called Bree and was like, I love you. And Bree was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I've never said I love you first to anyone. I'm always like, okay. And it's just, I know guys and they always complain. Like, I have this one guy, I'm not gonna name him just in case he listens, but he sends me probably all this info on a different girl every week and he's like, Brittany, she's perfect, what do I do? And I'm like, give it a week, you'll move on. And it's just like, oh my god, men, get it together.
That sounds like my brother, except now he's finally seemed to settle down. He's had a girlfriend he's been dating this girl for almost a year now, which is longer than any other relationship he's had.
That's a star.
Usually it's like a month and a half.
Yeah, I know someone like that. Oh, this one, I have thoughts about this one. A 2015 study found that heterosexual women thought men were more attractive when they were actively involved in the conversation rather than acting aloof. The same correlation wasn't made for heterosexual men talking to women, and the study says that it needs more research overall. So like, a straight man doesn't find women more attractive when they're trying to engage with them. They just want them to sit there and not talk. It's like,
That pisses me off.
But it's not surprising.
No, it's not, but it makes me upset.
I was just like, you had to actually do a study for that? I could have told you that.
I can go into a restaurant right now. Well, not right now because of COVID, but I could go into a restaurant and point out 3 couples that were exactly like that.
My favorite is when we used to go out, me and Richard would always like couple watch and we would like make comments on what we think that couple is fighting on based on what they're sitting like. And it was last year, I think, for Valentine's Day. We did this private thing at a bar downtown that doesn't serve food, but they like did a Valentine's Day menu, and like everyone was talking and it was nice, and it was like a limited event, so you had to pay for this. And then me and him, we were sitting here and we could like see this other couple. They did not say one goddamn word to each other the whole night, and they just stared at their phones, and we were just like, why are they here? This is so weird. We're gonna get murdered. I don't know what's happening. But it was just like, and then when he, like, I don't know, it's like, looked like she wanted him to talk to her, but he was just not interested. I was like, ooh, this is a bad time.
That's a yikes.
That's a big yikes. But yeah, I read that, and I was like, oh, fucking course men don't find women attractive when they try to talk to them. It's no surprise that humans, we inherently find symmetry attractive, so the balance of facial and bodily features can be a primal hint at a person's fertility and the strength of their genes, as is often known. But there's yet another aspect of the genetics that's intriguing. So in 2005, someone found that similar genetics determine 34% of friendship also, as well as mate selection. So in other words, that's why happy couples like look alike and why friend groups can look alike. It's just because that's what you're just drawn to, even in non-romantic fashion. Which I gotta think, I don't think me and Richard look alike. Maybe sometimes. If you've ever been attracted to anyone you look like.
Usually I'm attracted to the opposite of me because I don't like myself, so I'm like...
But they also say you don't actually see yourself for what you actually look like, though. Isn't that a thing? Because it's like, I feel the same. Like, I don't think any of this is true, but apparently it is. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Because, like, I feel like a lot of me and my friends are polar opposites. Like, me and you have similarities, but as far as, like, base personality goes, I feel like we're pretty opposite. So, I don't know.
Just something to think about.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to think on that one more.
So it's like new studies suggest that even if it's not conscious, so consciously or not, we seek partners who resemble us. So in terms of appearance, height, or IQ. And this was done by studies at a genetics in the University of Queensland in Australia, found a strong correlation in the genetic markers for height between partners in more than 24,000 married couples. They also found striking similarities within couples for genetic markers that have been linked to the pursuit of education. But now do you want to hear something annoying
so
about
you
that?
and Richard are both tall, and you both went to art school.
Yeah, and like that's the whole reason we met, because we did go to the same school, and we are fairly similarly height. Both have long hair, because we just can't get it cut right now. But he's actually getting his haircut on Monday, and I'm a little nervous about it.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Richard, no.
I don't know what he's gonna do. He keeps threatening me to shave it, and I will break up with him if he shaves his hair. I'm sorry, I just do not like the bald look. Unless it's a woman, then that's fine. I don't like bald men.
Yeah, I
Is
feel
that
like bald
weird?
men would like...
But like
the
a
second
bald woman is like strong.
Yes. But then the second I see a bald man, I'm like, you're gonna mansplain everything that you...
Yeah, and you're gonna wear like a white tee.
Yeah,
Like
with
white,
a V-neck.
Yeah, tank or whatever. So kind of going along the same thing, like say, oh, like apparently you're drawn to people who are the same, like smart as you. Listen to this annoying fact. In a study published in Social Psychology Bulletin, most male participants reported that they'd like to be with a woman who was smart, even one who scored higher than they did on a math or a verbal test. But when they actually took a math test while seated next to a woman and then learned that she had a higher score, then they quickly flipped their switch and they like turned sour.
Of course they did.
Yes. Don't you just love it? It's like, oh, like they can talk a big talk. Like, yeah, I want a smart woman, even if she's smarter than me. And then you actually put them in a setting next to someone and they can actually see that the woman is smarter. And they're like, she's not even that hot. You know, that's what half of them were thinking or saying. Like,
That pisses... Like, yeah, like, it's pretty obvious that that's how they think. But, like, at the same time, like, why are you so
because they can't
stupid?
take it. Because they're little bitty. The common stereotype that women are attracted to older men because they have an underlying daddy issues is not totally true. Recent studies have found that women who were born to older fathers are more likely to find older men attractive. So specifically, they're more likely to consider men with more facial creases and less hair to be attractive. And vice versa, women who were born to younger fathers are more likely to be attracted to younger men. Basically, if your dad was older when he had you, you might be attracted to older men more often than younger men, and vice versa. So the whole daddy issues thing isn't really true, but I'm sure it definitely plays into it. Mm-hmm. But as far as like base psychology of attraction, that is one reason. This one's kind of another one that's like, yeah, that makes sense, because, I mean, don't smell bad. A study published by the Social Issues Research Center found that women are attracted to, I'm gonna probably butcher all of these, you might know them, androstenol, a natural chemical found in fresh male sweat. And this acts as a pheromone, but the scent of androstenone, maybe, which is produced when there's too much sweat, it actually acts as a natural turnoff. So, like fresh, like a little bit of sweat is supposed to be a pheromone, but then when it gets too much, then it's like instant turnoff, which, yeah, no one likes a sweaty guy. Men, on the other hand, may be attracted to the smell of perfume, but it's been researched that they are turned off by the smell of tears. A 2011 Science magazine article found that when men sniffed tears, they felt a decrease in sexual arousal, whereas there was no change when they sniffed just like a neutral saline solution. So, yeah, here's just more facts about men.
Okay, not to come to the defense of men, but like if you think about like in a lot of the true crime cases, like men who are attracted to like they get more turned on like when the people they're attacking are crying and fearful and they get turned on by that, whereas like most men, maybe they see tears and they're like not for me. So that could necessarily like
in that sense, sure, that's a good thing. But I think it's also to just be like, oh, if you start getting soft or crying around the men, they're like, we're done here. That's how I took it. But, I mean, good on you for seeing both sides. But I just thought it was funny, like, literally men are, like, allergic to tears.
I don't know, but at the same time, like, I don't handle emotions well. Like, I'm clearly an Aquarius. Like, when other people cry, I get kind of uncomfortable. I'm like, you know that, like, meme of the, like, the gif of the person holding a broom? And that's like, they're there. I'm like, that's me sometimes. I'm like, they're there.
Yeah, I'm not good at handling emotions, but I'll at least, like, pat your back while you cry or something.
Yeah, I'll give you a hug. I'll tell you that it'll eventually all be okay, I'm sure.
Yeah, I probably won't give you a hug, but I'll, like, watch a movie with you. One of my roommates found out she was pregnant, and I was there at the apartment with her, and she found out, and she was, like, crying and all upset, and I just looked at her, and I was like, you want to watch Juno? And that was all I had. I mean, I made her laugh. But, like, that's how I handle emotions. Yeah. Hi, if you're listening, I love you. According to a study conducted by in Canada, the tone of a woman's voice increases a bit when she's flirting. So exactly how high a woman's voice goes varies at different times. So, for example, her highest chord note that she can reach will kind of occur during ovulation. And the study found that not only do men prefer these high-pitched voices, but they rated the highest pitch, the one that occurs around ovulation, as the most attractive at all. They want you to talk really, really high. And I do not have a high-pitched voice.
I don't either. Like, neither of us do. Unless you want me to turn on my customer service voice.
Yeah, like I definitely do go up, like, maybe an octave.
Hi, welcome to Insert Store Name Here. How can we help you?
Yeah.
That's about all I've got. But other than that, I talk like this.
Yeah, like I do not have and it was funny, I was reading all these things and I was like, this is literally just what it's like to work in customer service. You have to do all of these things.
This is what it's like being an employee.
Like, welcome. It's because people are just... well, they don't like you if you don't play to what they want.
Yeah, welcome to mine and Brittany's everyday life, just being at work. And then what really pisses me off is when when I used to work up front, I had 2 guys come in and give me their phone number because they thought that I was flirting with them, and they were like...
we'll get it. I have a whole section about that.
Oh my God. And I was like, I'm not flirting with you. I'm just doing my job.
I bet you did every single one of these things, and it's going to be really funny because I even put, in quotes, also... I call these how to work in customer service. So just wait. They might have gotten their research from this site.
And then there was the guy who, when I was working in the back, I don't even know how he noticed me because I was in the back at that point. And then he messaged me on Instagram. I'm like, how did you find my Instagram and also leave me alone?
Yeah, I don't like that at all. Like,
because I told you about that, right? Like,
I heard you, like, talking to someone else about that.
Yeah, because he was creepy. And after I told him to stop, he was like, okay, sorry for bothering you. I'm like, it's fine, just try not to do it again. And then he continued to send another message that was even more objectifying than the first one. I was like, oh, great. So then I blocked him.
Why do men? Question mark. Anything. Let us know if you're a man.
Oh. To our one male listener, let us know.
Yes! We see you. So this one is actually kind of interesting. So sweet nothings, or really just anything whispered into your left ear, it has a greater emotional impact to your brain. So a study found that when emotional stimuli encounter the left ear, like being whispered, I love you, or something, the accuracy of recall was more than 6% higher than when it was in the right ear. So you react better when people, like, whisper sweet things to you in your left ear.
Whisper in my ear at all and see if I don't punch you in the face.
You don't have to whisper like great, but, like, if you're, just talking to someone or trying to be sweet, or even just, like, probably just talking to someone, apparently you should, if it's emotional, you should do it in their left side. I don't know why, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
That's the one I have 80% loss in.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, I think that's the one I hear the ringing in ever so often. Like, I forget what it's called. It starts with a T, and it's something where you just kind of have a low ringing, just randomly. I have that in my left ear. It's probably for all the headphones I've always worn and concerts I used to go to like crazy. So I don't know if that would work for me, but... And then finally, a study published in the Journal of Research in Personality found that people who share prolonged eye contact form stronger attachments with and increased affection for their staring partner, as opposed to those who are introduced with a handshake. And we'll get into that more just right now, which I like to title, Some Really Cringy Attraction Signs from scienceofpeople.com. So according to them, this is a list of typical signs someone is attracted to you. And this is what I said. This is just working in customer service. So apparently, if someone's attracted to you, they lean in, they tilt their head as you speak, They smile at you, they make eye contact, and they reach out to touch your arm, hand, or back. It's like, for one, don't touch me. And for two, I make eye contact with everyone I talk to because it's polite.
Yeah. Like, I make eye contact with you. I either look at your eyes to get your, like, how you're feeling, or I look at your lips to read your lips because I have to.
And I always tilt my head when people talk to me. I'm just like,
I do too. I'm like a dog. Like,
I'm like, I do it to my dog. I'm like, and she does it back. But apparently me and my dog are in love with each other for that reason.
I guess me and my dog are too.
And now we get into the gender specifics. Signs a woman specifically is attracted to you. So make sure you don't do this at work, Skylar. She exposes her neck. I don't know what that means, unless it goes into, like, the head tilting thing.
Yeah, and I think it does have to do with, like flipping hair.
Because that's where, like, pheromones and stuff.
Yeah.
She tilts her head down to look at you through her eyelashes. I have never once done this or have seen this done.
No.
Not in a movie.
Because I would never do that because this give me such a double chin.
Like, how is that attractive?
That doesn't make any sense.
I know, I got a kick out of that one. I was just, like, doing it to Richard last night.
Was he so attracted to you?
I think he just did a double chin back at me and then walked away.
He's like, yeah, this is normal.
So maybe it worked. I don't know, guys. Touches her hair, but I just fidget with my hair all the time.
Yeah, I have really long hair, and when I get stressed out, I'm like, I need, like, that, like, stimulation of, like, no, it's just stress.
Yeah, or she touches her lips, which I don't, see, that grosses me. I don't touch my lips, because I germs. I can't do it.
And I think it could also be, like, biting your lips as well, or like
maybe
it's more.
I'm sure it's more just like drawing.
It's drawing attention because it's like I remember when we did talk about it in AP Psych. It was more about like drawing attention to your lips, like touching your lips, wearing bright colors on your lips, drinking out of a straw.
Yeah, eating a banana. Things that guys will take to heart.
Just eat right up. Which I bite my lips all the time because I don't drink enough water, so my lips are chapped all the time.
Yeah, I peel my lips with my teeth. I don't do it with my fingers. I just like peel them and I like get fixated. Luckily, like at work, I have the mask on, so it's not as noticeable. But I am just like usually just chewing my lips. Signs a man specifically is attracted to you. Claim your space, which one? Ew.
I don't like that.
By draping a hand over your chair or shoulder. So, you know, that classic, like, this move. It's like, don't claim anything about me, for one.
Yeah.
You won't have it. Leaning in as you speak, which I guess is also just for either gender, because that was one of the ones up there also. Touching whenever they can, which also, ew, why are the man ones so gross? And they
do not touch me without my permission.
They rub their chin or back of neck, which I can't, like, I've never seen a man do this, I don't think.
No.
This, maybe?
Yeah, I do see that a lot.
But I take it more as, like, nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but apparently...
They seem to do it when they're, like, nervous, when they, like...
Yeah. So, yes. That's really all I have. It's just a very shallow, just stuff I thought was funny and any way to bash on men. And, like, I would apologize, but I don't have to. I have a boyfriend, so you can DM me if you want to fight me about any of this. But yeah, attraction's weird, and I do the opposite of all of those things. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely not all of those things, and I've never been in a relationship before because I have commitment issues. Anytime someone's tried to be in a relationship with me, I'm like... I went on a date once. This guy asked me to be his girlfriend, and I was like, I ghosted him after that. He was like, do you want to be my girlfriend? Literally, I like went home, deleted his number, and never talked to him again. I was like, oops.
I mean, you're free to do whatever you want. And that's the point.
I freak out when like things get like intense or like serious, or they're like commitment, and I'm like, ugh.
But why?
Like, no thanks.
There's this one, like, trend on TikTok that I really like, and it's the gamer girl, like, when you get in the group call with, like, the simp guy, and it's so funny to me, because they're all just, like, talking normal, and then when the guy enters the call, they're like, oh, hello. I love this video. And that's all I could think about when I was reading that one part. I was like, oh, yeah, it makes fucking sense.
When you texted me, what did you text me? Hold on. The thing about the PC, and
yeah. Like, men are
it was
great.
like, it was the TikTok that said, turning off my feminism as soon as I need someone to build me a gaming PC, and it was like the thing from, Audrey Plaza? Plaza?
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, in Parks and Rec, where it was like, men are whatever that quote was. And you sent that to me and I went, BRB, gonna go pretend to simp for men on Discord so they buy me gaming PC equipment.
Yeah, so do that, but like do it in your customer service voice and you'll be golden, Skylar.
Yeah.
I'm telling you all the ways, ladies. This is how you do anything. Just make eye contact and raise your voice really, really high. So yeah, that's all I had. Because I wasn't gonna go too deep because I know yours is gonna be a lot. But I just wanted to throw some funny stuff I found. That's like the shortest section I've done, so yay!
That was good. That was fun.
This episode is sponsored by Anchor.
Or Anchor.fm on the website. So Anchor app or Anchor.fm. And it is a easy to use podcast tool that lets you record, edit, and distribute your podcast to all of the major platforms just from your phone or your computer, which is super duper fucking awesome. Especially because like I love listening to podcasts on Spotify, and Spotify, it has like a lot of times you have to go through like a trial run before you get on Spotify. With Anchor, you can just get right on it straight away.
Yeah, and the best part, guys, it's free to use Anchor. Like, this is so helpful to any small podcast. Hey, that's us.
Like us, because we're broke.
But you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's like, chef's kiss. It's so great. We can't recommend it enough.
And it really is. It's super easy to use. And like, I check Anchor every day to look at our stat, to check like just how we're doing and things like that. And you can even schedule your podcast straight from Anchor, so you don't have to like when you have a certain podcast time that you want to release your episode, you don't have to go on it exactly at that time. You can just schedule it. So then you can just be doing whatever, and then your podcast will be uploaded at whatever time you schedule, which is super awesome, especially when you're two working girls like us.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off for you. You don't have to worry about it. And like I said, it's free. And the main thing you have to do is you just have to download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And you can also be starting a bomb-ass podcast that we all know you want to start, just like we did.
Exactly. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. People who listen to podcasts, they also want to start their own podcast. And the easiest way to do that is through Anchor.
Your voice deserves to be heard. Yeah, so as a PSA, if we sound especially drunk right now, it's just because we went on like a 30-minute rant about work in between segments. So here we are, and we almost drank another bottle.
Yeah. So let's get into my segment now. So I am going to be talking about sleep, which it is considered an alternate state of consciousness, which I considered doing the 4 alternate states of consciousness all together. But by the time I was done with my sleep notes, it's 12 pages. So I was like, Jesus Christ, let's just do sleep. But we will touch on consciousness a little bit because I may, next time we get psychology, depending on, because the 4 altered states of consciousness are sleep, meditation, hypnosis, and drugs. So I'm doing sleep now, and then for the next one, I'll do my drug notes first, and then if they're kind of short, I'll put in hypnosis and meditation, because those are super duper short. I don't really have a lot on those. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about sleep. I'm going to touch on consciousness a little bit. This is very definition heavy, but there's some cool little tidbits. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, as someone who never sleeps, I am interested.
And I barely got any sleep last night, so I am...
She went all in.
There are 2 states of consciousness. You have your waking state of consciousness and then the altered state of consciousness. So consciousness is defined as the awareness of everything going inside and outside, going on inside and outside of yourself.
Okay.
Is what consciousness is. So your waking state is like where your thoughts, feelings, sensations are all very clear. That's when you're very aware of inside and outside everything that's going on. And then you have your altered states of consciousness, which is a shift in the quality or pattern of mental activity, which would be sleep, meditation, hypnosis, drugs, that affect the waking state of consciousness.
Okay.
What I'm talking about today is sleep. So let's go through some very important definitions that you need to know, just to like get you all caught up on everything that has to do with sleep.
Okay, let's do it.
So every single person has a circadian rhythm, which is the 24-hour bodily rhythm. So like when you sleep, when you wake up, and your energy at certain times, that's your circadian rhythm. And most people's circadian rhythm comes from prehistoric times where you are awake at daytime, you sleep at nighttime.
Right.
But circadian rhythms can be changed, and they vary from person to person. So like when people who work night shifts for a long enough amount of time, their natural circadian rhythm makes them be awake at night and have more energy at night, where they sleep during the day. Kind of like how...
Me in art school. Yes. I know that well.
And like your body will get up at certain times when it's used to waking up. Like, one night, I fell asleep before setting my alarm because I was actually listening to the edit of our first podcast. And I fell asleep during it because I was listening to it at like 11:30 at night. And so I fell asleep without setting my alarms. And I woke up in like a panic because it was like...
Yes, I hate that. Yeah.
It was like super bright outside. And I was like trying to find my phone because it wasn't on the charger because I fell asleep with it next to me, and it was like underneath my back because I fell asleep on it. And I saw the time and it was 8:30, which is when I usually have to wake up for work. I usually try and get up at like 8:30. And I was like, oh, thank God. And I was like, so my natural body is like used to waking up at 8:30, so I woke up at 8:30. But it's super helpful in case you forget to set your alarms, but also sucks on like weekends if you want to sleep in.
I've always been that like ball of nerves about timing and waking up.
Yeah, and see, I can sleep through alarms, so I have to set mine like...
That used to be my problem.
Like, I need to be up at 8:40 or 8:30, no later than 8:50 if I rush to get ready. Which basically just means I won't pack a lunch that day, but I usually try and get up at 8:30. But if I go to Jaden's house in the morning, I try and leave at my house at 8, so that way we have...
Jesus.
So that way
I'm
we have...
still sleeping.
Well, I just want to, like, us to have time to, like,
yeah,
have
like,
coffee
I get it.
and, like, hang out at her house
nice.
before we have to leave for work. So I try and get there at 8. So on Saturdays, I set an alarm for 6:30, 6:50, 7 o'clock, 7:20, 7:40, and 8 o'clock. And I set it in 20-minute intervals, and which I will get to later on why those 20-minute intervals are important. And then on days I don't go to Jaden's house, I set one for 7:30, 7:50, 8 o'clock, 8:20, 8:40. And then I try and be out of bed at 8:40. So that's fun.
Yeah, I've been this way since high school. I used to have to get up, because I lived really far, I used to have to get up at 5 a.m.
Me too!
For high school.
Yeah.
And I was home alone. So I was dependent on myself. And it was that's where I blame my stress and anxiety is from my mother. Just like, okay, you gotta get to school, love you, bye. It's like 5 a.m. and I'm like, I gotta get up. I gotta watch Boy Meets World and get ready for school. Like, let's do this.
So yeah, so that's your circadian rhythm.
Interesting.
So next, let's talk about microsleep. So microsleep is sleep or drowsiness which may last from a fraction of a second to 30 seconds, and it's just where a person fails to respond to some type of sensory input and becomes unconscious, which does not mean they get knocked out or fainted, because usually when someone's like, oh, they're unconscious, it's like something happened, like they either fainted or got knocked out, so they're unconscious. And that's not what it means technically in the terms of like psychology definitions. That just means that they're no longer fully aware of everything going on inside and outside of them. If the definition of consciousness is being aware of everything, unconsciousness is not being aware of everything. And that can be caused by sleep deprivation, medications, or sleep disorders. And then some warnings of microsleep is not being able to keep your eyes open, blinking hard or frequently, muscle twitches, and excessive yawning, which happens to me at work all the fucking time.
I'm a bad yawner.
So then the peak time for microsleep are dawn, middle of the day, which is what happens to me at work. It's like when we get to like that middle of the day period at work, I'm like super tired. I'm kind of moving slow. Our boss is like, Skylar, pick up the pace. I'm like, let me have a nap. Then we'll see where we stand. Or late at night. And most of the time it actually happens when the person's eyes are wide open and they don't even realize that microsleep is happening, which can be like super, super dangerous, especially if you're like driving. So it can be like dangerous or even fatal if you're like driving or doing something or operating heavy machinery, which is why like, and if microsleep can be caused by medications, a lot of times, and those warnings on different medications, like do not operate heavy machinery, because like that can be like a side effect.
Is this at all connected to like people who when they're driving they're so tired and they don't even realize that they've made it home, or is that something different?
That's different.
Okay. Because I do that all the fucking time when I lived in Nashville.
Like that can be considered microsleep, but usually not, because usually if it's microsleep, that's when you feel yourself swerving off the road and you didn't even realize you were swerving, which is why interstates have those things to like jerk you back away. Yeah. But whereas like if you drive all the way home and don't realize it, it's because you're either so zoned out that you're on autopilot, or in my case it's disassociation. Like which for me it's like disassociative amnesia. It's like, because like when I told you like that one time, like I drove to work, I remember driving to work part of the way, don't remember clocking in, don't remember being at work, don't remember driving home that day. I came to work the next day and was like freaking out because I thought I missed a day of work, but you hadn't talked to me, Brenda hadn't talked to me, no one had tried to get in contact with me, and I'm like, I totally didn't come to work yesterday and no one has said anything.
I was fired.
And I looked at my time card and I totally clocked in. I was like, what? But that's more either you're disassociating, which is usually more serious, or just being so on autopilot that you just don't even remember because you're just like aren't even paying attention because you're just like your brain is so used to it.
I think that's more likely what I do.
But yeah, microsleep is because when you feel that like fraction of a second if you falling asleep.
I've definitely done that while driving.
You're going to swerve.
But
just driving home and not realizing you made it home and not remembering the drive, that's not microsleep. I don't think. At least that's what my research has. Which we can get into sometime about like autopilot
I've done
and
both,
zoning out.
so I just didn't know if they were the same or not. So
I think that like mental thing of like autopilot and zoning out, I think that's really cool.
I do that all the time. So I definitely...
Well, and then sleep deprivation is sleep loss that impairs concentration and results in irritability, but that's not all. Like, enough sleep deprivation can cause more serious things such as feeling physically ill, which is what happened to me earlier when you were like, you should go home, and then I showed up to work the next day and I had a stomachache the entire day because I was so fucking tired.
And I even said, are you tired?
And I was like, no, I'm not tired. And then like next thing I know, I was like, yeah, Brittany, I'm really tired. And you were like, I knew it.
I knew that because I do it to myself all the fucking time. Because I don't sleep. Like, I am a horrible sleeper. So half the time when I'm at work and I don't feel good, it's probably because I'm just exhausted.
So feeling physically ill or complete delirium or even hallucinating. So in 1965, a high school student, Randy Gardner, and his friend were doing a science experiment for the science fair on the effects of sleep loss on cognitive function, which is funny because they originally wanted to do the effects of sleep loss on paranormal ability, but they realized that they couldn't do that and enter it into the science fair. Like, they wouldn't allow them to enter that into the science fair, so they changed it to cognitive function. So he stayed awake for 11 days and 25 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and he beat the Guinness Book of World Records on the longest person to stay awake during that time.
Sounds horrible.
And then there was John J. Ross, who was a doctor. Because, like, his friend was just originally doing, like, recording his experiences. But then, like, the friend was having trouble having to stay awake with him. Yeah. So they had to bring in another friend. And then, like, once it, like, got more traction, they brought in, like, actual doctors, so, like, and psychologists. So John J. Ross was monitoring his health, reported serious cognitive and behavioral changes. These included moodiness, problems with concentration, and short-term memory, paranoia, and hallucination. And this is funny. I couldn't find it in any of the research, but I remember my psychology teacher telling me this about Randy Gardner, that he was this like little white kid who was like in the math club, and like he played basketball a little bit, but he was like in the math club and was like did chess and things like that. After he was staying awake for so long, he was convinced he was a like a black man on the basketball team, and like when people told him like, no, you're not, he genuinely got upset because he was like, yes, I am, because he was like hallucinating so bad and was like completely delirious, like, and he wasn't like doing it to be funny, like he was genuinely like, that's like was not sleeping, he did not know what was going on.
That's terrifying.
And like I remembered her saying that, but I couldn't find it in any of the research, but I just wanted to add that.
No,
like, that's like insane.
I believe
that
it
can happen.
though. Like, cause I think my record is 3 days without sleep, and even then I was a nutcase. And it was in art school, so like, you know, crazy art is good art, so I was fine. But it was just like, I was a little psychotic. I'm not gonna lie. So like, I get it, Randy. Oh my god.
Yeah, but I just thought it was so interesting. I'm like, wow. Because I don't think I think the longest I stayed awake was like a little over 2 days, and it was because...
3 is mine for sure.
It was because we were going on like a church trip when I was in high school, and we had to leave at 3 a.m. And so by the time I was done packing, it was like 10 p.m. And I was like, oh, I could get some sleep. But I had to be the one to wake up at 3 a.m. and wake up my dad to take me to the church so I could go on the bus and get there. So I didn't sleep because I knew I would oversleep my alarm. So I just stayed awake, and then I woke up my dad and I went on the bus, and I was like, okay, I'll sleep on the bus before we get there. I can't fall asleep in moving vehicles. I just can't do it. There's just something about it. I cannot fall asleep.
I used to be that way. Now I'm like the complete opposite. It's weird.
And then we get to like the church camp. I go through all of the daily activities, like whatever, like we did, like, because it was like one of those like week-longs where you go to the beach. So I was like at the beach, then I went to the sermon, and then we went shopping. Like it was like a whole day thing. And then we got home, and I like took a shower and everything, and was supposed to go to bed. The first night I get somewhere, though, if it's not a place I'm used to sleeping, I can't sleep that night. I have to get used to it first before I can fall asleep. So I was like awake for 48 hours. I woke up the next day, and we were supposed to go to the beach, and I was just like laying in like it's like on the sand, and I was like, do not talk to me or touch me. I am just gonna lay here. I didn't wear sunscreen because I didn't.
Oh no.
We were in Florida, and like I have never gotten sunburnt in my life because like like I talked about
Skylar.
Like I talked about in one episode, my dad's a Native American, so anytime
everyone should wear sunscreen.
Well, I'm like, anytime I've been out in the sun for a long period of time, I just tan. I've never burned. I just get really tan because there's like that natural melanin that's underneath my skin.
Oh, I know.
Can't see it all the time.
Unless... I don't have that. I know.
Well, like right now I look really pale, but if I was like went to go lay out in the sun, I would get tan. I just wouldn't burn. But,
yeah, fucking yeah.
So I went to Florida, and I was like, oh, this is fine. I won't burn because I had never burned before in my life. I was out on the beach for 5 hours in like the middle of the day. I had to have Olivia. I sat in the bathtub with a bathing suit on, and she had to wash my hair because I couldn't take a shower because I was so burnt. It was like really bad.
Yeah, it's funny. You people who tan, you take it for granted. My boyfriend is one of those people, and when we were in Hawaii, he was just snorkeling, but he was snorkeling with his back up for like 5 hours in the ocean in Hawaii, and he's like, oh, I'm fine. That boy was burnt to a crisp, and I was like, I don't feel bad for you.
I feel like I forgot we were closer to the equator, so it was going to be different, but I was just like, it's
and
fine.
He's from Florida, so you would think he would know that.
Oh, yeah, well, I had never been to Florida.
But he was like, no, I'm fine. I don't burn. And I was like, fuck you. Because I look at the sun, and I get a sunburn. Like, it's fine, whatever.
But I didn't really feel anything. I think I just was, like, grumpy, but, like, I hadn't experienced, like, the crazy part yet.
No, yeah, I definitely went a little crazy. I do not recommend. Do not stay up for 3 days. And there's no excuse, but I did go to art school for one, as we keep mentioning. I don't know why. But I also went to a year-round school. So I took 1 semester's worth of knowledge in 3 to 4 weeks. So it was crazy. And if you don't know what art school is like, instead of like tests and papers and stuff, we had projects. So I had to do physical, like, projects, and they had to be creative and arty. And that was my work every single fucking day. And I was a manager at my job, and I had to work, like, 2 12-hour shifts during that 3 days. But it was also finals, and it was just snowballing out of control. And it was to the point where if I fall asleep, I'm not waking up for 4 days. And I can't afford that, because if I fail, it's another, like... Also, art school is very fucking expensive, so it was like, this is gonna cost me another, like, $12,000. I just can't do it, so I don't recommend. Education is stupid. Don't go to college if you don't want to, because I didn't want to.
Like, live your life.
I'm clearly using my art degree. Hello, this is a podcast. You don't need a degree for that. So, yeah, that was why art school made me crazy.
And then on the 11th day, when he was asked to subtract 7 repeatedly, starting from 100, he stopped at 65. And when Dr. Ross asked why he stopped, he replied that he had forgotten what he was doing. Ooh. And I was like, that's me every day, because
I believe that, yeah.
I have ADHD. Technically, I have ADD, but now that the DSM-5 considers ADHD and ADD the same thing, they just call it ADHD. I technically have ADHD. Yeah. I'm not hyperactive, so I'm with him on that, but that just happens to me every day. When my boss is like, weren't you supposed to be doing this? I was like, I forgot about that. And she's like, okay. So his record has been broken a number of times, and yeah, like, it's ridiculous.
I don't recommend it, guys.
But Gardner's case does still stand out because it was so extremely so extensively documented, and it is difficult to determine the accuracy of a sleep deprivation period, just because of what we talked about earlier about microsleeps, because they can happen with your eyes completely open for even a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just things you don't even notice unless, like, the patient is, like, extensively monitored, because, like, those microsleeps, the doctors and patients might not even notice that it's happening. And I did want to talk about, like, which I didn't take notes on this, but I did read it, about, like, when he was getting back into, like, a normal sleep schedule, he would, like, sleep for, like, 4 hours and then, like, wake up and then, like, stay awake for a couple more days, and then he would sleep for, like, 14 hours and then, like, stay awake for, like, a couple days, which I have actually done before, because during my finals week during high school, that was someone, like, my sister was younger and my brother was younger, so I was helping my brother with his finals, like, studying for his finals, giving my sister a bath, making sure she was eating, like, had dinner, making sure she went to bed on time, and then helping my brother with his finals, making sure he went to bed on time, and studying for my own finals. And we had, like, a small break, and so we had, like, Wednesday, because it was, like, my junior year, which junior year in high school, everyone knows, like, junior year is your hardest year. I was taking 4 AP classes that year, 2 honors classes, and then 1 elective my junior year. So it was, like, a lot of finals. And we had, like, a small 3-day break. I went to my mom's school after she had gotten, like, because she worked at the elementary school, so they closed at 3, whereas middle school and high school got off at 2:20. So I would have to go to her elementary school. I took a nap while I was waiting for my mom to, like, get done with everything. Took a nap in the car on the way home. Got home, took a nap on the couch from 5 p.m. till 9 p.m. My mom was like, Skylar, are you gonna go to bed? I got up, went to my bed at 9:05 p.m., slept till noon the next day. I slept for 17 hours straight because I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
And I have never slept that long. Like, usually I sleep like 5 to 7 hours, which isn't great because you're supposed to get more than that, but, like, usually I can run on that and be perfectly fine. Never slept for 17 hours except for that one time, and I was like, damn. So let's get on to why we sleep. There are 2 theories.
Depression.
Yes. That's why I sleep. It's because it's the only way I can die for a little bit without actually having to.
Yes.
So, besides is that there are two psychological theories on why we sleep. The first one is the adaptive theory, which is where animals evolved sleep patterns to avoid predators. So they would sleep when the predators were most active.
Okay,
and like, because like they would burrow or like get to a safe space and then sleep while the predators were hunting. So they didn't have to go out, because like when you're awake, you know, you have to, you know, keep your brain productive, like go out, find food, take care of your little baby animals that you have. So then they would just sleep when the predators were most active, so they didn't have to worry about that. Or there's the restorative theory. I cannot believe I am an English, or was going to be an English major.
But I would assume, yeah,
restorative. Yeah, okay. Let's go with that. So we sleep to heal and grow, which would coincide with like babies and teenagers needing a lot of sleep in those critical development periods, because babies have to sleep a lot. They take a lot of naps. They sleep so much. I mean, they do wake up at random ass fucking times in the middle of the night, but they do need a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
And then like once you get to be like a smaller kid, like older toddler to like preteen, you don't have to have as much sleep. But then when you get to your teenager years, you have to get more sleep. And it's why like babies are recommended, like babies and teenagers are recommended 10 to 12 hours of sleep, whereas preteens, or it's like children and preteens and adults are recommended those 8 hours of sleep.
Teenagers are recommended 12 hours?
10 to 12.
I didn't realize that.
No teenager gets 10 to 12 hours of sleep.
I
didn't, but that's what was recommended.
That explains everything.
Because at those stages, you're in your most critical stages for development. So if the restorative theory is that you sleep to heal and grow, that would make sense why babies and teenagers need 10 to 12 hours, whereas most everyone else just needs 8 hours.
Explains a lot.
Yeah.
Fine with the drugs and alcohol, man.
And I remember my AP Psych teacher, or my psychology and AP Psych, because it was the same person. She was also my APUSH teacher. So it's like she was my APUSH teacher, my psychology teacher, and my AP Psych teacher.
What's APUSH?
AP US History.
Oh, okay.
Which, that's really funny, because when I was in choir, I was doing like my APUSH homework, and someone was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "APUSH homework," and they were like, "What's APUSH?" And like my first response, I didn't even like say AP US History. I went, "It's a cult," and they were like, "Oh,
that makes sense." Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's AP US History. So, because I took my
I thought that or English, and it was like either one of those. I was like, oh, okay, but I wasn't sure.
But she actually went through like this whole list on like sleep deprivation and like, do you get enough sleep, and like went through this whole list and was like, she was like, read all these sentences. There were like 15 sentences, and she was like, if you checked off 8 or more, you are sleep deprived. I had checked off 14 out of 15 of the boxes, and she was like,
sounds fucking right.
I was like, me and Michael, they go by Emmy now, I believe. I haven't talked to them since high school, but I do believe that their pronouns are now they, them. Okay. I think their name is Emmy instead
shout out.
Yes, shout out Emmy. Like I said, I haven't talked to you since high school, so you're probably
now.
So you're probably not listening, but if you happen upon this,
you could be.
Shout out Amy. We had the same amount, and Miss Atkins just looked at me and Emmy and was like, "Are you guys okay?" And you're like, "No."
It's like when you go to the gynecologist and you're like, "How many drinks do you have a week?" And you're like, "Well,
I drink a bottle every night."
Let me tell you. And it's because it's like, "Are you depressed?" Liar. They make you fill out, and you're like, "Yeah, probably, but I might. Let's go. Come on. We're fine. We're fine."
So now we're gonna get into these stages of sleep. So the first stage of sleep is called pre-sleep, which you have your beta waves, which are smaller and faster, and they occur when a person is completely awake and mentally active. So we are having beta waves right now.
I'm also tilting my head, so
clearly
I'm very attracted to you right now.
I was watching the video of our stream that we did, and every time you explained something to me, I don't know if you watched it back, but I just looked at you like with like the most love in my eyes I have ever had for another person. I was just looking at you like,
did you touch your head a lot?
I was like, why was I looking at her like this?
Because I'm amazing.
I I was like, she's explaining things to me so nicely. She's treating me so kind.
That's so funny. Hey, yeah, please go watch our videos.
But it was just so funny because like I had paused it to get up and get something, and I like came back and I looked at the screen and I looked at us and I was like, oh my god, like the way
I'm in love with Brittany.
I was like the way I'm looking at her right now, I was like, wow. I was like, that's a lot to unpack. Not going there.
Later in the podcast. We'll get there. Give it time, according to psychology.
Yeah, apparently we spend so much time together. Like, that's why you love me so much now, is because we spend so much time together.
I mean, you could wear more red. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't wear red because I don't look good in red. I'm only good in crimson or like burgundy, but not like red.
You're fine. Just show me more of your neck.
Yeah. Well, I always wear my hair up, so my neck is always on display because apparently I just need to be attracted from everyone.
Yeah. According to command.
Apparently, it's just what I crave. The fact that I wear my hair up and show my neck all the time.
You get so many numbers at work.
Apparently, I need to start wearing my hair down more often. Except I just get so hot because my hair is so thick.
Same. Yeah. I'm like sweating. I'm like,
I know. I'm like push my cardigan sleeves up, and I'm like tempted to take it off because I'm getting real hot. I'm actually going to do that. So the beta waves occur. They're small, fast, happen when you're awake. We're having beta waves right now because that's just what is happening all the time when you're fully awake and mentally active.
Okay.
Then you have alpha waves, which are larger and slower, that occur when a person is relaxed or lightly asleep. So then you get into the next stage, which is non-REM. So you have your theta waves, and that is where you are having a light sleep. You have hypnic jerk, which is the involuntary twitch of one or more muscles that occurs when a person is falling asleep. It's like, you know, when you're falling asleep and you kind of like feel your arm move or your leg move.
Always, yes.
Not to be confused with restless leg syndrome, but like hypnic jerk is not restless leg syndrome, but it is kind of similar because it's an involuntary twitch of your muscles.
Is it anything connected to like if you have just fallen asleep but you like feel like you're falling and then you twitch awake because you think you're falling, or is that something different?
I think it kind of goes in with that, and then
because I get that all the fucking time.
Me too.
Okay.
And like sometimes like when I'm about to fall asleep, like I'll hear
I feel like I'm falling and I'm like,
I'll either feel like I'm falling or like I listen to music when I fall asleep because like otherwise my brain gets too active because I have anxiety and I overthink. So if I'm not listening to music that I can focus on when I'm falling asleep, I will never fall asleep ever. But then like all of a sudden I'll be like falling asleep, and the next thing I know, like the music hasn't changed volume. It's on a very low volume, but then it's like all of a sudden really loud in my ears, and like I like jerk back away. And
yeah.
It's like, it's kind of weird, but that kind of goes in with that. But I think the like feeling of falling is hypnic jerk, but also a mix between the next thing, which I'm going to talk about. Okay. But I do want to talk about one more thing with hypnic jerk, which because it's a type of involuntary movement called myoclonus, which is what hiccups also are.
Oh, okay.
So that like, because there are like different types of involuntary movements. They're like a whole bunch of different types, but apparently hypnic jerk, where you like twitch when you're about to fall asleep, and also when you hiccup, are both myoclonus.
Okay, yeah.
Which I thought was interesting.
Makes sense, yeah. Interesting.
And then, so you've got your theta waves, so the light sleep, hypnic jerk, and then hypnagogic images, which is an image experienced by a person who's fallen asleep that resembles a hallucination, or which I kind of think the hypnic jerk goes in with the its fall is like the falling feeling.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes like if I have a feeling of falling, I can like see myself falling as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a mix. I think that goes in with hypnic jerk, but also with the hypnagogic images.
Okay, yeah, that makes
sense. Hypnagogic images, sorry. I don't know why I said hypnagogic. Hypnagogic images.
Okay.
But like also in those like hypnagogic images, like when you see like if you're kind of like laying there and you see like shadows moving, or like random light spots or like circles in your vision, that's also hypnagogic imaging or like hallucinations.
Yeah, no, a lot.
And then you get to stage 2. So we're still in non-REM, but you've got, so non-REM, you've got theta waves, then stage 2. And stage 2 is where your temperature, breathing, and heart rate starts to decrease, and you get sleep spindles, which are electroencephalographic electroencephalographic. Yeah, electroencephalographic, or EEG, Hallmark.
Like the card company?
No. I was fucking plastered when I wrote this shit. Like, let's just get that out of the way now.
Yeah, I know. I heard she took a shot of whiskey, and like, this bitch doesn't like whiskey.
Like, when I was doing this, I had a alcoholic chocolate. So it was like this little tiny ass chocolate that was 5% alcohol. It was vodka. And then I had a shot of Crown Royal whiskey, a shot of Tequila Rose, 3 Cayman Jack bottled margaritas. I was fucked when I wrote this. So
She's gotta take a pause while Skylar figures out her notes. Hallmark is involved.
BRB. Apparently Hallmark is right.
Okay.
Because I went back to my source. Hallmark is right. I guess it's saying it's like a hallmark of non-rapid eye movements, which is, I guess it's being like a
trade,
I guess.
Okay.
But they said Hallmark. And
Okay,
I'm like,
okay.
that doesn't really make any sense, but okay. But I wrote it anyways.
Wait, I just want to look up the definition of Hallmark.
Yeah. Let's do
For
that.
for fun. Now.
Yeah, so we get drunk when we do our notes, and we get drunk when we talk about it. So
This is a drinking podcast. A mark put on an article to indicate origin.
okay.
So I guess, yeah, distinguishing characteristic, trait, or feature.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So a hallmark.
So yeah, sleep spindles, which are electroencephalographic, or EEG, is like a hallmark of non-rapid eye movement, sleep, and are believed to mediate many sleep-related functions, like from memory consolidation to cortical development. And it is the most important stage as we age. And most memories, like the non-infant memories, are formed in this stage. So like when you go to sleep but you still remember things, it's because you're sleep spindles. And like you've got your alpha waves, which are like, and then you've got your beta waves, and then you've got your theta waves.
Okay.
And then you've got your sleep spindles, which are...
Okay, wait. I feel like we need to record this.
Okay.
So she was just doing a lot of movements. I'm going to record it and we'll post it on socials.
Yes, because I realized that, okay, should we gonna...
Okay, go.
Okay, so you've got your beta waves, which are... And then your alpha waves, which are... And then your theta waves, and then your sleep spindles, which are...
Yay!
So that's what that is.
Okay, yeah, I think that will help.
Okay, yeah. So that way you guys have like a visual
What
representation.
you saw, what I saw.
And then you have your delta waves, which are much...
Oh, did we miss one? Oh, no.
But it's just much slower than
Okay, so it's
everything
like,
else. Yeah.
it's bigger, wider, and slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is when your growth hormones are released. It regulates immune system function and develops and repairs muscle tissue. And that is your hardest stage to wake up from. And if you wake up during that stage... If you wake me up during that stage, prepare to get fucking murdered. Like, I will kill you. Do not do that shit.
Okay.
So, and then you've got your REM, which is your rapid eye movement.
Right.
So,
This one I know.
yes. So you've got pre-sleep, non-REM, and then REM.
Yes.
So this is where 90% of dreaming or a paradoxical sleep occurs in this stage.
I feel like I've heard something where it's like half of the population don't ever make it to REM. Is that true or is that a myth?
I think it's true.
Okay.
And it's just...
So it's hard to get to there?
Yeah, because a lot of... it's not hard to get to there, but it's hard to remember if you do get to there, and it's hard to have a functioning one.
Okay.
Because, like, when people...
Because I used to dream a lot, and I used to remember it, but lately, I feel like I don't dream at all. And it's probably just because I don't remember, because I drink a lot. But...
like, alcohol comes...
Also, I just don't sleep a lot, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious.
And, like, sometimes a lot of people, or, like, a lot of bodies will try and get people stuck in delta waves, so that way they are getting that good restorative sleep.
Okay.
But then, if you stay in delta wave, that's the hardest stage to wake up from. It's also the one that's, if you wake up from that, you're not gonna have, like, you're not gonna wake up feeling energized. So, like, if you are getting a lot less sleep, you're less likely to make it to REM because your body's trying to give you through those or get you, like, a lot of delta waves. Which, it's all based on timing, but depending on sleep deprivation, timing could completely change.
Yeah, okay.
At least from what I understand. So it just depends. It's person to person.
Okay.
So what we're talking about is less person to person. It's just more generalized.
Yeah.
But like if you are really sleep deprived, your body is going to try and get you stuck in that delta wave where everything is restorative. You're getting good sleep. But then if you never get to REM and then you wake up, you're going to wake up feeling like crap.
That's me every day of my life, guys.
But then also, a lot of people do get to REM, but they don't have like a solid REM cycle because like they don't wake up remembering it because they've already made it to the next stage.
Yeah, and like Skylar will fight me on this, but my house is haunted, so I always am woken up in the middle of the night before I get to REM. And maybe it's just paranoia, but
okay.
I'm just saying, this is why I don't sleep.
Infants form neural connections during REM, which is why they have a short sleep cycle and a lot of REM, whereas older people have longer sleep cycles with less REM, which is kind of what I was talking about with the delta waves and everything.
Sense. Yeah.
So now, before I get into dream theory and roasting Sigmund Freud, because that's my favorite pastime, let's talk about sleep scheduling really quick. And also, I did want to say, I don't know if... Okay, yeah, because my rant about Sigmund... My not full rant, but my somewhat rant of Sigmund Freud...
BB rant.
Comes in later. Because I'm not going to... This is not going to be another Zach Baggins thing. Like, I worked fucking hard on this research.
Oh my god, I wish you had to watch Ghost Adventures.
I would have actually cried. So let's talk about sleep scheduling. So sleep cycles occur regularly every 90... That's a really hard word for me to say. For some
regularly?
Reason. Yeah, regularly.
I have many of those words, so it's fine. Like, I've known based on past episodes.
It's not even because I've been drinking. When I'm completely sober, I can't say that word.
Yeah, I have many of those.
So sleep cycles occur regularly, because your word was occur, because you went occur.
Yes, I was occur. I couldn't say it.
Do you mean occur? And you were like, yes.
I fucking couldn't say that word.
So I'll say my word that I can say, and you say the word that you can say on it. So sleep cycles occur
regularly
every 90 minutes or so. The average individual experiences around 4 to 6 sleep cycles in a full 7 to 9 hour night of sleep. Thus, the need to schedule specific wake-up times is important to ensure the brain wakes up at an appropriate stage in its sleep cycle and that we wake up refreshed. So, like, don't fucking wake up during your delta wave stage in your non-REM, because then you won't wake up feeling refreshed.
Oof.
Yeah. So light sleep is also when it's easiest to wake up, and that's why power naps should not be more than 20 minutes, because if you cross that 20-minute mark, you're going to enter your deep sleep or your non-REM. So your pre-sleep, non-REM / deep sleep. So non-REM / deep sleep, that's the same thing.
Okay.
But if you sleep for longer than 20 minutes and like take a nap, you've already entered your deep sleep phase, which is your theta waves, stage 2, and delta waves is all deep sleep or non-REM. So yeah, taking too long of a nap means you may wake up during deep sleep. So like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to take a 30-minute nap. No. Do not take a 30-minute nap, because then you're entering deep sleep and you're not going to wake up. You're going to wake up feeling like super duper groggy because you've led to sleep inertia by getting into your deep sleep.
I'm really guilty of that. Yeah.
So you either need to take a 20-minute nap for like a light cat nap and you'll wake up feeling super refreshed. If you go to 30 minutes, you're going to wake up feeling super groggy, you're in your deep sleep inertia is happening. It's not good for you. But if you do want to take a long nap, you want to sleep for 90 minutes or more, so you make it through an entire cycle.
Okay, that makes sense.
So like from light sleep all the way to REM. So that is the beginning of light sleep to the end of REM, 90 minutes. And then if you sleep a little past 90 minutes, like 20 minutes past 90 minutes, you're still in your light sleep, because if you're taking a 20-minute nap, it's just your light sleep. So you could take like a 90 to 110-minute nap and be okay, because you've gone through a whole cycle, you're back in light sleep. But then if you get to 2 hours, 120 minutes, you're back in your deep sleep. So you kind of have to schedule it if you want to take a nap, just so you wake up feeling refreshed rather than groggy and gross.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So now that we've talked about sleep scheduling, let's get on to dreams.
Yay! I like dreams.
So there are 3 dream theories. You got your latent manifest theory, activation synthesis hypothesis, and the activation information mode model. Those are your 3 dream theories. So the latent manifest theory was created by Freud.
I can tell you're a fan.
Who said that dreams are a form of wish fulfillment, which include the manifest content and the latent content. And the manifest content is what is actually in your dream, so like what you're actually dreaming about, and then the latent content is what it means or what it represents.
Okay.
Which already in of itself is a fucking problem because he just made this shit up. He was like, this is what you dreamed about, this is what it means. Where did you get that?
You want to fuck your mom.
Like, but whatever. And I'm like, and then I literally said, which I do not need to tell you why that is all kinds of wrong, because Freud is a piece of shit, and mainly came up with this theory to explain away the Oedipus complex, which also only came about because of one of his own defense theories, because Freud is also the guy that did all of the defense theories. And the defense theory he used was projection, because most of Freud's psychological theories and ideas and breakthroughs were all him projecting his own issues onto everyone else and then creating more theories to explain them away.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But whatever. I won't get into that now. Next time I'll read you guys my Neo-Freudian essay I wrote in AP Lang my senior year of high school if I can find it again. Because I'm pretty sure I kept it because I've kept all of my notes and essays from classes I actually liked. So I wrote a Neo-Freudian essay for AP Lang my senior year, so I'm pretty sure I still have that somewhere. So next time I'll read that essay for you guys.
It could be a Patreon content.
I'll just read you guys my old high school essays.
Skylar reads. $2 a month.
It was, fuck Freud. I hate him so much. But it's fine. He just sucked. And if you like Freud, I'm sorry, but you're wrong.
End of discussion.
Like, most of his stuff was bullshit anyways. Like, I think the only thing that had any actual credibility was his defense theories, because those are actually, like, proven, like, among, like, multiple people. Not just him being like, this happened to me, so now it's everybody else's fucking problem. Well, fuck this guy. I hate him so much. But of course, you know, he was a white man from Austria in the late 1800s to the early 1900s who's creating all these psychological theories that were like, white guy is saying things, we must listen. And I'm like,
yes.
But it's whatever. Okay, so the next theory, I'm done with Freud. I don't want to talk about him anymore. He sucks. Anywho, but I do not think that the manifest latent theory is real at all. Like, to be fair, no one knows why we dream. These 3 theories are the main, like, accepted theories, but there is not one right answer.
Right.
I personally do not think that the manifest latent theory is credible at all. 1, because it was created by Freud. 2, because at the time it was created, he was just like, this is what you dreamed about? Okay, well, this is what it means. He was just making that up. There was no scientific backing behind why that would mean certain things. And people dream about things they do not want to dream about. And he considered it. He said himself that it was wish fulfillment. And I'm like, I do not think people, like, because I've had dreams that I'm like, I never want to dream about that again. That was horrific. So
most of my dreams.
So I'm like, I do not think that that has much credibility, if any. Which, if you disagree, I would actually be happy, because, like, this is a topic I'm really interested in. So if you disagree and you want to talk about it with me, please feel free to DM me. I will gladly, like, talk about it with you. Just reminder to be civil, because I'm a baby. I just turned 22. I am overly sensitive. I will cry if you are mean to me.
And I'll be mean to you if you're mean to her.
Thanks, Mom. But yeah, I'd be happy to talk about it with you. Anyways, yes, so next we have the activation synthesis hypothesis. So in REM, the brainstem is activated, which you can, like, your eyes are moving back and forth, your brain is creating pictures, your brainstem is activated.
Right.
Not all of your lobes are activated, not all of your, like, not everything in the brain is activated at that point, but the brainstem definitely is.
Okay.
And so it is theorized that since the brainstem is activated, dreams are the mind's way of explaining why the brainstem is activated. Which I think that this is like my favorite theory, because like your mind is literally like, I do not fucking know why the brainstem is activated right now. Like, let's give it something so that way it has a good reason to be doing this. It's like the brainstem is just being fucking weird. Like, let's give it something to like give
Here's
it
a cookie, shut up.
like just take it.
It's like that toddler that's like crazy.
And I just think that's so funny. Like, I love it. And so next is the activation information mode model, which is basically where it's like information activated during the day while awake affects your dream synthesis. So like if you watch like a movie and you're like really into it, you go to bed that night and you dream about that movie, or like dream about certain things about that movie, that would be your activation. That would be the theory of activation information mode model.
Yeah, I had that last night. Because I have another podcast. It's a book podcast. And right now we're reading Twilight. And last night I dreamed about vampires. So let's just like, I think I know why.
And I remember we had to do like a little question and answer because like, by the way, my sources are literally my psychology notes from high school and then one website called SAATVA.com, where I got my sleep disorder notes, because even though despite the fact that at the end of the consciousness chapter of notes it's a test tomorrow and sleep disorders was on that list of things that were on the test tomorrow, I did not have a single fucking note on a sleep disorder.
Because she knew it.
Literally, but other than that, all of my notes came from my psychology notes from high school. But yeah, so we had to do this thing where it was like, okay, talk about a dream you've had recently, and then explain it, like take each theory and like what would each theory say about the dream you had. So like at that point I had this dream about where I was flirting with Leonardo DiCaprio at a bar and I asked him what his sign was and he said Decapricorn, and I laughed so hard that I woke myself up. And so we had to like explain it away with like each theory. I do not fucking remember what I wrote for the latent manifest one, because I had to go to like a Freud dream explanation website and I just fucking tuned that shit out. But then like your activation,
I would love to know that one, honestly.
But then like your activation synthesis hypothesis would be like, oh, like this is just your brain coming up with like something to explain why your brainstem is activated for whatever fucking reason, because it should be asleep like the rest of you. Actually, no, it shouldn't, because you'd probably die. Because it also helps you breathe while you're asleep. So brainstem activation, good.
Important.
Keep brainstem activated. It's a good thing. And then like for the activation information mode model, it was because I had watched the Leonardo DiCaprio movie and I had been looking up like astrology memes on Tumblr, and so I was like, oh, that must have been why I dreamt about it, because I was watching Leonardo DiCaprio and I was looking at astrology things on Tumblr, so I was like, that's where my dream came from.
Which movie?
Romeo and Juliet.
I was about to say, please tell me, is Titanic or Romeo and Juliet?
It was Romeo and Juliet.
and honestly, Romeo and Juliet was my first one. I was like, that's what she was watching.
And it was so good too, because Leonardo DiCaprio was so hot in that movie, and I hate Romeo and Juliet, but like...
But also, so was Claire, what's her name? Claire something.
I don't know if I can remember.
But, oh, yeah. I love that version. I'm not even gonna pretend.
Yeah, that one, because like, I do not get the whole like tragic, like they knew each other, they're 3 years apart, like she's 14, he's 17. Like, yes, they're both minors, but there's a clear age difference and mental difference between a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old. They should not have been having a relationship or whatever. They knew each other for 3 days and then killed themselves over it. And I'm like, I have commitment issues, so I can never do that, so I don't understand why they did this. We talked about this earlier. I'm clearly not a person who would ever be that dramatic over a relationship, so I never really understood it. But the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet version,
Claire Danes.
Yes,
her name.
Anyways, Leonardo DiCaprio was really hot in that movie.
Yeah, that's a good version. That's a good version.
So yeah, that's the activation information mode model.
Okay.
And now, like I said earlier, there's no definitive answer on which theory is correct or if any of them even are. There's no way to know. Like, it's one of those things, like, you can theorize about it, but there's no way to actually prove it. But I personally think that the last two are, like, I think that the reason why we dream could be a mix of the last two. It's like your brainstem is activated, your mind is trying to come up with something to explain why the brainstem is activated, so it's taking information you saw throughout the day while you were awake and incorporating it into why your brainstem is activated into like a little mystical, fancy little thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
But like I said, there's no way to know. It's all just personal opinion. It's just like, this is a solid theory that can be somewhat backed, but there's no way to prove it except for Freud's, because Freud fucking sucks. But nonetheless. Anyways.
Fuck the guy.
I hate him so much. We'll get into it in another episode.
We'll have just a Freud episode for you, Skylar.
So now we're going to go into the last part of the segment, which is sleep disorders. Although there is a little note at the end, because at the very end we'll talk about sleep paralysis, and I'll kind of explain why it's at the very end and not mixed in with the 6 sleep disorders. Now there's not only 6 sleep disorders. These are just the most common sleep disorders. But there are a ton more.
Okay.
But these are just the 6 most common. And it's what most everyone will know, or most what everyone will experience or have heard of.
Right.
Okay, so insomnia is the first one.
Yep.
Because like I said, we're going over the 6 most common ones. This is not all of the sleep disorders, they're just the 6 most common. So, number 1, insomnia, which is a persistent problem falling and or staying asleep.
Check.
Which I have.
Big old check.
Yeah, I'm like, check mark!
On insomnia.
Check mark.
My whole life. My mother, too. So...
and there are 2 types of insomnia, short-term and chronic, which actually, I'm not sure which one I have, because my doctor said it was like part-time insomnia. So I guess it's like short-term, but also chronic. So like, instead of like having, okay, I'll go.
Yeah, explain them both.
Yeah, okay, so short-term is defined as sleep issues lasting less than 3 months, whereas chronic is 3 times a week for 3 times a month.
Okay, I probably definitely have chronic.
3 times a week for 3 months. But like, I'll go through spouts where I'll be fine with sleeping, whereas then like for over a long span of time, like for a bunch of different times, I'll have either trouble falling asleep, and if I don't have trouble falling asleep, then I keep waking up in the middle of the night. But if I have trouble falling asleep, once I finally fall asleep, I stay asleep. But it only happens every so often. So like, it'll happen for a long period of time, and then it'll quit for a long period of time, and then it'll show back up. And my doctor said it was like, it's kind of like, it was like the best way to describe it is part-time insomniac. Like, you're a part-time insomniac. And I was like, okay. So I guess mine is kind of like a mix of both, I guess.
Yeah, mine's pretty much chronic, unless I'm drunk. So I think I have chronic.
And then the things that cause insomnia are chronic, or some of the things that cause insomnia are chronic pain, consuming substances like nicotine and alcohol.
Wow.
Which for me, check and check. I've literally got a glass of wine and my Juul next to me right now. So I'm like, 2 checks. And behavioral and mental health disorders like stress and anxiety.
Well,
check.
Okay.
Fucking check.
I think that's everyone in the world. But
we're all just sitting here, we're like making check marks.
Big yikes. As I take a sip of my wine.
Yeah. So insomnia can be treated by cognitive behavioral therapy, like following good sleep hygiene. And good sleep hygiene is like refers to the basic environmental, so like, for example, temperature, noise level, ambient light, scheduling, like, which would be like your regular sleep-wake schedule.
Yeah.
Sleep practice, so like a bedtime routine. And physiological factors like exercise, timing of meals, and caffeine use that promote optimal sleep. So that is all what is considered sleep hygiene. And you'll hear me refer to sleep hygiene a couple more times throughout this part. So that's what I'm referring to when I talk about sleep hygiene. And then so specifically for insomnia, good sleep hygiene for treating insomnia would be going to bed and waking up at around the same time every day, or treating your bed as only a place to sleep, which actually did help me a bunch, because like used to, when I would get home from work, I would go to my bed, I would like pull up my covers and sit on top of my covers and have my laptop out, and I'd be like on my phone and on my computer while sitting on my bed. But now that once we got Bo, our puppy, during quarantine in 2020, when our job was closed down, like in that month and a half was closed down, that's when we got Bo. I started having to move my laptop to the living room, so that way my mom and dad would be in one living room and I would be in the other living room, so he'd go back and forth without us worrying about him when he was still in his training period. And then like once I moved my laptop to the living room, I still do that. Like I go to the living room by myself with like my laptop and my phone in there, and only use my bed for sleep. And that has helped me a whole bunch.
I will say that was pretty much my problem in high school and college, because I would always go to my bedroom just to get away or to do homework, or for both of those time periods of my life, I had a TV in my bedroom also. So I would just go there and watch what I wanted to watch. And like when you're living with other people, that's really easy to do, to escape. And then kind of when I moved in with my current boyfriend, Richard, which has been, over 8 years now, he doesn't like TV in the bedroom. So that was something I kind of had to give up, and I got used to it. And it was where now my bedroom really is only for sleep, but I still have to like make myself not use my phone, like for TikTok or for Webtoon or for anything else. And when I'm able to like turn that stuff off and just be like, yeah, I'm really tired, I'm just gonna put it on charger and go to bed, it's great. It's fucking great. But then when I find myself getting into those old habits of like entertainment, it's like, oh yeah, you're sleeping like shit tonight. And so yeah, it definitely makes a difference. And I would definitely recommend not having a TV in your bedroom, which was something that I had a really hard time with, because it's like, I need the noise. And it's like, well, no, I have a fan, which I can get a little bit of noise, and I don't recommend it, but I'm just like, I can just drink myself to sleep, so it's fine, but don't do that. But like, you don't need a TV for sleep, like I used to think.
And I used to get like, because like we've been like the lower, like our income, my dad is a welder and my mom was a teacher, so we were always like lower middle class. So we didn't have like TVs in the bedroom, we didn't have like things like that. And I used to get so jealous of my friends who had a TV in their bedroom. I'm like, how cool is that?
They were miserable.
And then like,
that was my life. That was miserable.
And then like when I got like old enough where like, as a graduation present, like my senior year of high school, I got a phone. It was the first time I had a phone. Was the summer before my senior year of high school. And then when I graduated high school, I got a laptop for college. And I would use it in my bed, in my bedroom. And I was like, I had already had trouble sleeping. And then when I got that just added on to it. Yeah. And then when I realized like what the issue was the fact that I wasn't treating my bed as just a place to sleep. Yep. I was treating it as a place. And then when I changed that,
to work and eat and... Yeah, like in college, I used to like do all my homework in my bed. I used to eat in my bed, and it was just horrible.
Yeah, because like in my dorm room, like you have this little tiny ass desk. So I'm sitting here. I would sit on my bed and I would watch like YouTube or watch Netflix while I was eating my lunch from the dining room, because I would always get my lunch to go, because you could get one to go meal per day. And since I had like a gap in between my morning classes and afternoon classes, that's when I would get lunch to go, take it back to my dorm, just relax, sit on my bed. And then I like would have trouble sleeping. And then when I dropped out of college and went back home, I still had my laptop, and like I would just always go to my room, because like as soon as I got back, like I knew I wasn't going back to college, just because like once I found out that like my scholarship got, like the appeal was approved and I got my scholarship back, they didn't give it back to me in full. So I still couldn't go back because it was still too expensive, which is the reason I had to drop out, was just because I didn't have the money to pay for it. So then I got the job at where we work now. I got the job at where we work now. I would get home from work. I would fix myself something to eat, go to my bedroom, get on my laptop, eat in my bed while I watched whatever was on my computer, had awful time sleeping. Then thank God we got this bitch ass dog that we have now, which keep in mind, Bo is my son. He sleeps in my bed. Like, I love him, but he's a little piece of shit. But we got him, so I had to move to the living room to like keep an eye on him. And like now that I've done that and only use my bed for sleeping, I'm like, this, like, I've been getting much better sleep.
Yeah, and like I think that definitely it plays into just being young and being anxious and awkward and not wanting to be around other people. And like I lived, like in college, I lived with 2 other girls, and so I would always retreat to my room a lot. And so I had this room and I had a TV and I had my bed, and I would just sit in there and I'd just be like, I need to get away. And or when you're like living at home, you're like, okay, I just have to escape. And it's just like, it becomes this like place that's like, yes, it's your space, but it's also like trapping you in this like, I'm awake in this space constantly, and it's hard to escape, and you don't really get that real freedom in more ways than one until you have your own place and you're like, wow, I can hang out in my living room, or I can hang out in my kitchen, and I don't have to just run away and hide in my bedroom. Mm-hmm. And it's a complete switch when you're like, wow, this room is just for sleeping, and it's so nice. So it's definitely something to like look forward to and treat yourself, but also just realize like you're not weird for not sleeping when you're young, because I didn't sleep for days at a time when I was young because of anxiety. But get your own place and it gets so much better, I promise.
Yes.
You can do what you want, and it's amazing, and you deserve it.
And I still do not have my own place, but I'm looking forward to getting one soon.
And I would 1000 recommend, do not put a TV in your bedroom.
Yes.
Like, just don't do it. You don't need it. If you have to, put earphones in and listen to calming music as you fall asleep. But you absolutely do not need the light. You do not need the music, the sound. Just play some music. I would definitely recommend getting a security system. Simply Safe. Hey, if you want to sponsor us, I love you. But just, you don't need it to feel safe.
Yes. And like I said earlier, as far as like with my anxiety, like one of my, like, anxiety presents itself in a lot of different ways. For me, I have my phobias, which phobias are considered an anxiety disorder because it's irrational, which I will get into abnormal psych in a different time as far as like what classifies as what. But like for me, for like my general anxiety and like my social anxiety and things like that, like that often presents itself to me as, especially at night when I'm trying to go to sleep, as like overthinking, like re-going through every single interaction I had throughout the day. And then just thinking about like just way overthinking, which is why I keep my laptop open in my room. I have Spotify pulled up, but I have like the screen thing on, where it's like after a certain amount of time, the screen goes black, but it still plays music. So that way there's no light, but there's still the music playing lowly in the background. So that way I can like listen to the music as I'm falling asleep. And that really helps me a lot.
Yeah, and like me, the only devices I bring into my bedroom are my phone and my watch. And that's because I charge them and I use them for an alarm. So do what you gotta do. But I would recommend not having a TV if you can help it. And I try not to take my laptop into my bedroom. So
since I use my phone for my alarm, I have to use my laptop for music because
I get that.
My alarm, I have to have my ringer all the way up and I have to have my volume all the way up. Otherwise I won't hear it.
That's fair, yeah.
So if I turn my music on my phone, then the volume's all the way up on my phone and it would be too loud for me to fall asleep. So just figure out what works best for you. And it's always going to be trial and error.
Yeah.
Like you're going to try certain things, they're not going to work. You're going to try something else, it's not going to work. You're going to try something else and you're like, that kind of worked. Well, let's see if we can find something better. You're going to try something else and maybe that works out the best. So just like keep figuring it out, keep trying until you find something that works best.
Yeah, because I'm 28 and I'm still just fucking flailing. And nothing is great. Because I set my alarm on my phone, I set it aside. I drink tea, or I drink a little whiskey in my tea for a hot toddy with my CBD powder, and then I just kind of lay there and I make myself lay there and I listen to the fan or whatever, an eye mask. I've started using those. That really helps because it makes it really, really dark. And it kind of forces my brain to be like, okay, there's nothing to look at. There's nothing to get paranoid about. Because that used to be a big problem for me, is I would see like shapes and shadows in the night.
Hypnagogic imaging.
So I had to get a sleep mask, and so I use one every night now, and I can't sleep without one. So if you're ever been like, oh, I don't know if this would really work for me, I say try it, because it actually, it takes a little while to get used to how it feels on your face, but it makes it so dark and your brain can't overreact to anything. It's actually really, really nice. So
yeah, but just try what works. Just keep trying until you find something that works for you. Because what works for us doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, but also what works for us could also work for you. So just keep trying until you figure something out.
Yeah, and it took me like until last year to try sleep masks, and it's changed my life. Because my brain was so overreactive, and yeah.
And see, and I can't use sleep masks because the times I've tried, I start hearing things, and then I'm like, there's something here. And then I have to take off my sleep mask and like look around, and I'm like, okay, there's nothing in here. Everything's fine.
And like, I will say, I still hear things, but with the mask, I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna listen, and you've got 5 minutes to kill me. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like, we're good. I would just lay there and I won't touch my mask, because I'm someone in the past, and I think Skylar, she mentioned sleep paralysis. So I think maybe she'll get into it. But I suffer from that greatly my whole life. And I wasn't able to combat it until I started wearing a sleep mask. Because it just kind of nips my sleep paralysis in the bud. Unless, because I do sleep kind of wildly, sometimes my mask, it does get like pulled off of me. So sometimes I do wake up and I'm like, oh shit, I can see. And it's terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. But I'll hear things. But I have the mask. It's kind of like when you're a little kid under the blanket and you're like, oh, it can't hurt me. Mm-hmm. I think that with my mask. And I'm like, if I hear it, it's fine. I can't see it. So, it's not going to hurt me. So don't take it 100%, because I still do get scared, because I do suffer from sleep paralysis a lot. But it does knock it back a lot.
Mm-hmm. I was just about to get to the next point of insomnia treatment.
Sorry, that went on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But the next one makes me laugh because it's something I cannot do. So like we talked about, using your bed as the only place for sleeping. And then the next one is limiting or eliminating alcohol and potentially cutting out caffeine, which I absolutely cannot do. I drink way too much and I love it, and that will not change. And caffeine, if I go one day, if I literally go an hour in the morning without having a cup of coffee, I get really bad headaches. My stomach starts to hurt. I get really shaky, because caffeine is a drug. And I'm so addicted to caffeine that after literally an hour after waking up, if I do not have caffeine in my system, I go through withdrawal symptoms. So when it's like, cut out your caffeine, or like potentially cut back on your caffeine, I'm like, absolutely fucking not. But anyways, if none of those things work for you, there is medication that can help. You'll just need to talk to your doctor, of course.
Yeah. I have nothing to say about this, because I can't.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not happening.
I'd be a hypocrite.
I'm like,
because I've tried to give up caffeine before, and I was not a pleasant person.
I will not give up caffeine, will not give up alcohol. End of story.
Yep, next.
Next one, the restless leg syndrome.
Oof, yeah.
So for the longest time, I actually thought I had a restless leg syndrome. Apparently I do not. Sometimes I have like moments where there's something like wrong with my leg where I can't stop kicking, and it'll happen when I'm awake. So it's not necessarily restless leg syndrome, I don't think, but it's like I'll get this like really weird twinge in my knee, and I'll have to keep kicking before it goes away. But then I also found out from my mom that me and my dad, we both run laps in our sleep, which is why I would never be able to bring my linens in to work because me and my dad have worn holes in the bottom of our sheets where our feet go because we run laps in our sleep, which apparently is not restless leg syndrome, and that weird feeling I get in my knee is not technically restless leg syndrome. I'm not sure what it is, but like I get this weird twinge in my knee and I just have to kick my leg out. But it only happens very rarely, but I don't really know what it is.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know either.
Anyways, restless leg syndrome, but I just thought it was funny because I would be like, yes, I have restless leg syndrome. And I was like, apparently, no, I do not. I just have something entirely different, which is equally as strange, but not restless leg syndrome. But it is an uncontrollable and often uncomfortable urge to move your legs or feet, usually on both sides of the body. And it can happen when you're sitting, but it mostly happens like during the night, when it can interrupt sleep or give you a poor quality of sleep.
Okay.
And then the feelings, like the sensations that come with restless leg syndrome include crawling, creeping, itching, aching, and throbbing. And the only way you can get rid of that like sensation is like from movement. And there's no definitive cause of restless leg syndrome, but family history, pregnancy, and hormonal changes can play a role in why it happens. Treatment includes getting regular exercise, avoiding caffeine, taking a warm bath, getting leg massages, practicing good sleep hygiene, applying cold or warm packs on your limbs, and using like a designed foot wrap for restless leg syndrome. So they'll like have like a restless leg syndrome designed foot wrap that you can use. And your doctor might also prescribe medication or check to see if you have an iron deficiency, which can accompany symptoms of restless leg syndrome, which I definitely have iron deficiency, like real bad. Like sometimes at work you can actually see it in my hands because my hands will get really purple and splotchy from like how low my iron is at that point. And my favorite things on TikTok is like people with iron deficiency that they're like, you guys don't have iron deficiency, so you don't like, it's not spicy when you stand up, you don't run the risk of falling over. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I definitely have that. And my mom, I think I definitely get it from her. She has all of that, and she has to like take a bath every night. And I never understood that until I'm like, ooh, I want to take a bath every night now.
But I guess maybe me running laps in my sleep isn't the restless leg syndrome. But I feel like it's more often, because mine doesn't happen very often. It only happens every now and then where I get that like weird feeling in my knee that I have to like kick. So I don't think it can be considered restless leg syndrome because it doesn't happen very often. But it just happens like, I think the last time I had it was like a year and a half ago. And then and it'll just like show up randomly and it lasts for like one night and I won't see it again. Yeah. But I think it could be like a sub thing of restless leg syndrome because it's got that weird feeling in my knee and the only way to get rid of it is to kick. But yeah, but I do run laps in my sleep every night. You'd think my legs would be thinner, but apparently not.
Muscles.
That's why I lift all the furniture at work.
You do volunteer.
Because every time I turn around, it's either Lindsay or Britt being like, Skylar, can you help me move this furniture? Fine. And then when I get furniture in by myself, I just don't ask anyone for help because I'm like, I can fucking do it myself.
And how does that work out for you?
So far, so good. I picked up that trunk and you were like, how am I supposed to start a podcast with you if you die? And I was like, I didn't die. It's fine.
Yeah, but you'll overdo it when you're young. Don't do that.
So sleep apnea.
Yes.
So sleep apnea is actually is like the most common sleep disorder. It affects everyone, although it is more common in men.
Okay.
So sleep apnea in many people goes undiagnosed, which can impact health, increasing the risk for high blood pressure and heart disease. Symptoms include disrupted breathing, where it's either hard to breathe or you might stop breathing for up to a minute at a time, which is not good. Morning headaches, extreme daytime fatigue, irritability, difficulty with clear thinking, and limited attention span. And then snoring or needing to go to the bathroom frequently in the night, like waking up needing to go to the bathroom.
No.
And having a dry mouth or sore throat when you wake up are other signs. So it's like, if you are noticing like a whole bunch of those signs, you might have sleep apnea because, if you're not breathing in the middle of the night, like, things are going to happen.
I do wake up frequently with dry mouth. I will say that. I just figured it was the alcohol. that I make myself go to sleep with.
That's probably your reason.
But it might be sleep apnea. I don't know, guys. I'm not a scientist.
So, sleep apnea can be caused by smoking, sleeping on your back, family history, alcohol. So, maybe the alcohol is causing your sleep apnea. High weight. Nasal,
high weight?
Yeah, I actually said height weight, but it's high weight, like higher weight.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like H-I. Weight.
No, H-I-G-H.
Okay.
But I accidentally said height weight, and I was like, huh? And I was like, no, high weight.
And then I was like, highway. Wait. I was like, wait, what?
Nasal congestion, hypothyroidism, and anatomical features like your nose shape could affect if you have sleep apnea. Or
I have a big-ass nose.
Do you?
Don't I?
I don't know. I've never really noticed it.
I've always thought I have a witch's nose. It's like really big and
pointy. You do
pointy.
kind of have a witch's nose. It kind of like comes to a point at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of nose I have.
A normal nose, I think. But I've always thought I had like a big witch's nose. And it went with my red hair, and I was like, yeah, I would have been burnt at the stake.
So maybe you do have sleep apnea. Tell Richard to stay up one night and see if you stop breathing in the middle of the night. So
probably. Okay. Can you tell me, what does it mean when you pet yourself in the middle of the night? Do you have anything about that? Because Richard does that.
No, I do not have anything about that.
Okay, story time.
I'm sorry, what?
Okay, you people on the podcast, you can't see my emotions, but I'm gonna act out.
Do you want me to take a video like I did with my...
You can't do what? But I've... Totally ready. Okay, so multiple nights I have caught Richard, and he says this is a family thing, so his sister also does this. He's dead asleep, and he'll just go straight up above him, and he'll just pet, and then he'll pet. And that's that. And that's weird on itself, but I've also caught him like laughing at the same time, so it's like and apparently it's a family thing, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? So yeah, what's the psychology behind that, Skylar?
I think Richard just might be broken.
But yeah, he'll straight flat in bed and just straight up, and it's just like petting his arms, and he's done it so many times.
Yeah,
I don't.
So funny.
And like my weirdest thing is sometimes I'll sleep with like my knees straight up. Like that's what I do.
I sleep talk and run laps, so.
But like I have caught him many times. I'll just hear him laugh, and I'll look over, and then his hands just go straight up, and he just pets himself. And I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. Are you okay?
Are you good?
And I bring it up to him, and he's like, oh yeah, that's something I've always done. And I'm like,
why?
What does that mean? I don't understand.
Have you ever been hugged as a child?
Yeah, so apparently him and his sister do that, and I've never in my life heard that. But they just like pet their arms.
I do not know. I can Google it real quick.
And I've seen it for myself, so it's a real thing. But he's dead ass asleep because he is a heavy fucking sleeper, and that's also the difference between us.
Nope. I said, why would you pet yourself in your sleep in Google? And it's just like, why you should sleep with your pet in bed. Top 10 ways to make your pet comfortable when they sleep. So, Not coming up. I think Richard's just an odd man.
It's just broken. That's fine.
Anyways, now that we've talked about Richard, he's not important here.
No, definitely not.
So, sleep apnea can be treated by losing weight, sleeping on your side, which sleeping on your side I'll kind of bring back up when we talk about sleep paralysis.
I must always sleep on my side. Is that why I have sleep paralysis?
No.
Okay.
Because I feel like
I only have sleep paralysis when I sleep on my back.
Exactly, which is why I was going to bring it up in sleep paralysis, because the same thing happens to me.
Oh, okay.
And reducing sedatives or substances you may be taking.
Well, fuck.
Literally every sleep disorder, it's like, you can treat it by, like, not drinking or, like, reducing caffeine. I'm like, fuck you.
Can't.
Although sometimes more severe cases, you may need special equipment. So either continuous positive airway pressure, CPAP, or bi-level positive airway pressure, or BiPAP. So those CPAP and BiPAP machines, which are like, when my granny was going through chemo, when she had her brain tumor, before she died, which is fine to talk about now. It happened when I was 8. Like, I'm 22 now. Like, it's fine. But when she was going through chemo, had her brain tumor, like, sleep apnea, like, became a problem for her while that was happening. And she had to be on a CPAP machine. And it made a really loud fucking noise. And, one time when we were visiting, she was taking a nap with the CPAP machine on. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Which I didn't say that because at 8 years old, I didn't know what the word fuck was. But I was like, what is that? Turns out it was her breathing machine.
Okay.
Anyways, to help keep the airway open during sleep.
Okay.
So that's what the CPAP and the BiPAP do. So next, how many have we gone through? 3. We've done insomnia, restless leg syndrome, sleep apnea. Now we're on number 4, which is narcolepsy. So, narcolepsy is a chronic sleep disorder characterized by overwhelming daytime drowsiness and sudden attacks of sleep. People with narcolepsy often find it hard to stay awake for long periods of time, regardless of the circumstances. So imagine, like we talked about microsleep earlier. Mm-hmm. So imagine that, but for longer periods of time at random times.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on. Even if you have a lot of stimulation.
You're just like
out.
Okay.
And,
makes sense, yeah.
So, symptoms of narcolepsy include nodding off frequently throughout the day, even, like, in the middle of a conversation or while you're working.
Right.
Having sudden urges to sleep in the afternoon, or a sudden loss of muscle tone, which is called cataplexy, which can cause slurred speech or total muscle weakness. And it's often triggered by some intense emotion.
I've never met anyone with narcolepsy.
Me either.
Yeah.
The only time I'd really have known anything about narcolepsy was from that Victorious episode where they were in a play and when Beck and
I've never watched Victorious.
What?
I am old, Skylar.
Okay, so people who are my age, in Victorious, in that one episode where they were all in a play, and then Beck and Andre were twins, even though they looked nothing alike, they were the twin brothers in the play, and then their dad, which was played by Tori, the main character of the show, she had narcolepsy, so she just kept falling asleep. That's the only knowledge of narcolepsy I've had before. Anyways.
Yeah, mine is also only in entertainment, but I can't name any of it right now because I'm old.
So doctors still aren't sure what causes narcolepsy. In some individuals, having low levels of a brain chemical called hypocretin, I think it's hypocretin.
Okay.
Or simply genetics may be the cause. There's no cure for narcolepsy, but medications or lifestyle changes like taking naps, exercising regularly, setting and maintaining a consistent sleep-wake schedule, and avoiding alcohol and nicotine can help.
Okay.
So, luckily I do not suffer from narcolepsy, so I do not have to avoid either of those things. Sure. Although my insomnia wants me to do so, I just refuse.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 5, night terrors.
Okay.
Which I have never had, but my mom has just about every single night. So night terrors are also called sleep terrors, and unlike nightmares where you wake up, a person stays asleep during night terrors while exhibiting intense fear, screaming, and flailing. So like sometimes I'll just hear my mom yelling in the middle of the night, and I'm like, oh, she's having a night terror, and then I go back to bed.
Oh my gosh!
Well, it's like one of those things that like
that seems like so scary.
Yeah, and like she does not get good sleep either, and like me and my mom both have sleeping issues. Hers are just different than mine. She doesn't have insomnia, but she has night terrors. I have insomnia, not night terrors, but I do have sleep paralysis. She's never had sleep paralysis. And they may even sleepwalk, which my mom has never done, luckily.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
Yeah, I've never sleepwalked before, at least as far as I know.
Yeah.
I do sleep talk, because I've been told I sleep talk. One time, it was during the holidays, it was my aunt and my uncle were sleeping in my bed, and then my other aunt and uncle were sleeping in my brother's bed. My mom and my dad were in their bed. My little sister was in her bed. So me, my brother, and my cousin were all in one living room. And then my two older cousins were in the other living room. And apparently I was sleep talking because I had a dream about where we were all in like this like discussion circle. And I was like, I had said something about how, like, you don't have a chair to sit in, so you don't have an opinion. It's like talking in my sleep about, I was like, and I
can see you saying that.
I was like, you don't have a chair in a discussion circle, so you don't have an opinion. And but apparently my cousin, because I fell asleep before my cousin and my brother did, because they were up like playing video games, because they were going to sleep in that living room, so they were just playing video games at that TV, and like while I was already knocked out on the couch, apparently I was talking in my sleep about how, and I think I said something about how, you are not invited to the discussion circle as well. And like, they were like, I had no idea what you're talking about, but it was hilarious. I was like, okay. So yeah, I do not sleepwalk, but I apparently sleep talk, and I'm a bitch when I sleep talk, apparently.
Love it.
It was an interesting time. But night terrors affect children more than adults and can last anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes. That's not to say it's only in children. Like I said, my mom still suffers from night terrors every single night, but it does happen more in children. I don't remember having anything like that, but I could have been too young to remember, but I don't recall having anything like that. Causes may vary from sleep deprivation and stress to fever and disruptions in sleep. Medication, sleep apnea, and alcohol use can also trigger night terrors.
Move along.
I know, it's like literally every single sleep disorder. It's like, the problem.
You drink too much.
It's like the problem is alcohol. I'm like, the solution is like alcohol.
You're stupid.
So treatment for night terrors is more defensive at first, since night terrors can actually be like super harmful.
Yeah.
So you want to increase your safety, which I believe a weighted blanket can help, since it keeps you from flailing so much and accidentally hurting yourself.
Okay, yeah.
And weighted blankets can also help with anxiety because you feel more secure.
They're heavy. Like, they do the job.
Yeah, my mom has one that's like 20 fucking pounds. I had to move it the other day. I was like, God.
Yeah, like, I can imagine it'd be like, yeah, I'm stuck.
It's like, because if you suffer from anxiety and you have a weighted blanket, you're like, oh, I'm secure, I'm under this thick thing, everything is fine. Whereas if you're like suffering from night terrors where you're flailing around, you're like, I literally cannot fucking move right now.
Yeah.
Which is why my mom got it. It was for her night terrors.
Okay.
So you want to increase your safety and identify what is causing the night terrors and treat that, because there's no treatment for the night terrors, because night terrors aren't like its thing on its own.
Yeah.
They're caused by something else. So you want to like find the source of why you're having night terrors and treat that. And then, so the sixth and most final common sleep disorder, which, like I said, we'll get to sleep paralysis later. There's a reason it's not in the sleep disorder, so I'll get to that in a second. But the last one is sleepwalking. And I'm sure most people know that sleepwalking does not just mean walking around while you're asleep. Sleepwalkers can do a many number of tasks, from getting dressed to having sex to driving. And it can even be used as a defense in court. Like, there's this man who had a history of sleepwalking and killed someone, but he did it while he was sleepwalking.
Okay.
And, like, it held up as valid in court because he was sleepwalking. He had no idea what he was doing. But then once that happened, people tried to use it in court, but the defendant must have a history of sleepwalking, because most sleepwalking occurs in children and goes away eventually, or it continues into adulthood, but there's usually a history there. Now, sometimes it can show up in adulthood, but that's not usually the case, and usually there's always an underlying problem which they can find. And if they don't find that underlying problem, they're not going to believe you. You can't just, like, be like, I was sleepwalking. They're
I didn't mean to murder her.
They're going to be like, no, the fuck you weren't. Like, so, and then sleepwalking usually lasts no more than 30 minutes, and usually lasts under 10 minutes. Like I said, usually that's not always the case. During sleepwalking, you may just go back to bed and fall asleep and may be none the wiser that you were ever sleepwalking. Or you wake up very dazed and confused in somewhere that was not your bed.
Okay, yeah.
Sleepwalking can be caused by stress, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, alcohol, medications, fever, brain injury, family history, and sleep deprivation. Treatment isn't very proactive because most of the time it just goes away with age, but if it keeps persisting, you can try to identify, like, the reason you're sleepwalking and treat that. Kind of like with night terrors. Like, sleepwalking isn't its own thing, it's a reason. Like, it happens because of another thing. Like with the night terrors, it happens because of another thing. You need to treat that. Same with sleepwalking. But whereas, like, night terrors, you treat it very defensively. You're like, okay, we gotta lay you down, make sure you don't hurt yourself. Whereas, like, sleepwalking is just like most of the time as you get older, it just goes away.
Yeah.
All right, now on to the very last thing, sleep paralysis.
Oof. Yeah.
And the reason I'm talking about this separately is because sleep paralysis is actually a very normal part of REM sleep.
Okay.
It's when it occurs in non-REM stages that it becomes a problem. So, like, most people experience sleep paralysis when they're in REM. They have these images in their head, they can't move because they're dreaming. But it's when you're in non-REM and you're having a sleep paralysis episode that you're like, oh, fuck. Mm-hmm. So it's not technically a sleep disorder, but kind of is. It just depends on where it falls in your sleep stages, like we talked about earlier. It depends on where it falls. So non-REM sleep paralysis is a state during waking up or falling asleep in which a person is aware but unable to move or speak. During an episode, one may hallucinate, which is like hear, feel, or see things that are not there. Episodes generally last less than a couple minutes. And if you're lucky, it only happens once in your life. If you're me, it happens very often. I've had sleep paralysis multiple times. I've had it in school because, like, my sophomore year of high school and my junior year of high school is when it happened the most. Because my sophomore year of high school, I was in Honors Algebra 2. We would take a test. I would fall asleep after my test because I finished it in like 15 minutes and we were in like an hour-long class. And so I would take a nap because it was right before lunch. We'd already gone. It was the fourth class of the day. It was like 4 out of 7. I was like, I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to go to lunch. I'm going to be ready for the next 3 classes. And then next thing I know, I would like hear a bell in my head and I would wake up. I would go out of class, start walking towards the lunchroom, and then something weird would happen where I was like, this is a dream. And then I wouldn't be able to wake up. And, like, I would just keep getting stuck in the cycle. I'm like, I'm dreaming. Like, let me wake up, let me wake up. And it would not happen until the actual bell rang. And I would be jerked out of that state. And then in my junior year, I was in honors physics. We had the final. I had a 108 in physics. I needed a 3% on the final to keep an A in that class. I answered the first page of questions, turned the final in, did not answer any of the other 10 pages, literally just answered the first page, and turned it in, took a nap. And I was like, I could hear my friend, like, Tyron talking to me, but I was, like, having this, like, I was stuck in this, like, weird mental state while I was taking a nap, and I kept trying to move my hand, and I thought I was moving my hand, and I was not moving my hand, and I was trying to wake up, and I absolutely could not. And so those were, like, my first experiences with sleep paralysis, but now it happens a lot more frequently, and it happens when I'm laying on my back. And there's a man standing at the end of my bed with a knife, and he just walks slowly towards me, and he's walking so slowly, and I get so pissed off because I'm just screaming, and I can't run anywhere because I can't move, despite the fact that he's moving slowly. And then I wake up just right before he's about to stab me.
Yeah.
And, like, I get jerked out of the sleep paralysis. I don't know why that's when the sleep paralysis decides to go away, but it's, like, right when he's about to stab me, that's when it, like, lifts, I guess.
Yeah.
And it happens very, very frequently. And then if I just, like, wake up and then I go back to sleep, if I'm still on my back, it happens again. I have to turn over on my side to keep it from happening.
Yeah.
Which is, like, when I said earlier, I was like, we'll get into that, like, later about sleeping on your side.
Because it's like at my mom's house, the last time I ever slept there is before we moved here, because I used to travel here to stay with my mom for a time being, and I came in last time, and it was the first time, and I'm not saying what you have to believe, but it was the first time I ever stayed here without an animal living in her house, because I think animals are protectors. It's fine, whatever. And so I was sleeping in the room, and I was sleeping on my back, and I was also alone. Richard wasn't here, so maybe I was just anxious for that reason. And it was just me in the back room of her house. And I woke up, and I couldn't move, and there was, like, this man to the left of me. And I don't know how else to describe him other than a pirate, but, like, the worst kind of pirate. He had this, like, big ass grin, and he had, like, a big beard.
Oh, see, that's an extra creepy, because mine didn't have a face. He was just wearing a really big hat.
Mine had a face, and mine was just basically a face, and it was just, like, this big, like, ass, like, and pirate is the only thing I can think of. And he was just grinning, and he was just leaning in closer to me, and that's when I was just like, I've got to wake up. But I couldn't move, and he just kept getting closer and closer until finally it faded. But then, like, I would wake up, and I would just, like, see the imprint still there to the left of me. And I had to sleep on my side. And, like, and at my house now, I have to sleep on my side. And whenever I do, sometimes I fall asleep on my back. It's demons, and I don't ever see their faces, but it's just, like, blobs, and they're, like, slithering up on me, and they're, like, eating my stomach. I don't know what that means, but that's the main one I get. It's stomach stuff, and, like, maybe it's, like, fertility stuff. I don't know, because I don't want kids, but it's just, like, always with my stomach, and they're, like, eating me, and I wake up, like, right when there. And that's the main two that I get, is, like, a pirate and a demon. Just, whatever. Hello.
I usually always get, like, I think other than, like, when I'm at home, like, the only time it's been different of, like, being me paralyzed in my dream was, like, when I was in school. But then anytime I'm home and I fall asleep on my back, it's always a man. Doesn't have a face. He's wearing, like, a hat and a trench coat, and he has a knife. And he is about to stab me. And I can't even, like, really scream, but, like, because I make this, like, I don't know how to, like, make myself scream, but I want to scream because there's a man with a knife that's about to stab me, but it just ends up coming out like, like, it's like a talking scream. And, like, I didn't realize, like, that people could hear me when I was doing it, because, like, no one has ever come to, like, check on me, except for one time when my brother happened to still be awake, and I guess he could hear me, like, doing that, like, talk scream, and he, like, turned on my light and, like, pulled me awake and was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, like, I just was, like, having, like, a really, like, weird, like, sleep paralysis episode, and he was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
But I do think the thing about you saying animals are protectors are interesting, because ever since Bo has slept in my bed, I have not had a sleep paralysis episode.
Yeah, I never had a problem with my mom's house until our cat and our dog died that lived there. So I just throw that out there. It's something I definitely believe in. It's why I always have animals in my personal house. Just thought, yeah.
Yeah, because I have not had a sleep paralysis episode since we've gotten Bo and he's started sleeping in my bed. I've not had a single one.
I've lived in my mom's house for most of my high school life and formative years, and I never had a problem until all the animals were gone.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I definitely, as someone who believes in the mystical shit like that, it was just definitely like okay.
Keep in mind, I believe in mystical stuff, just not ghosts.
Yeah, which is weird to me. Because she's like, yeah, animals are protectors, but not from ghosts.
Like, because ghosts don't exist.
But demons wanting to eat you, yeah, sure.
I just think when you die, you move on. And if you don't move on, you're not there anymore.
It's fine. I believe in it all, guys. Tell me your weirdest theories.
I don't know. I'll have to actually, put my thoughts together in a cognitive thing. Because I have this, weird mix of views that's, a mix of growing up Christian, but also growing up Native American, as far as, spirits and energies versus when you die, you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I kind of have this weird mix of beliefs. I don't even know what I am, because I'm this weird mix between a spiritualist, native spiritualist, in spiritualism and native culture, but also Christian, but also I hate organized religion. I do not like going to church. I pray to God, I read the Bible, and I have a personal relationship with God, who I believe is up there. Do I think it's necessarily the biblical version of God? Not necessarily. Because organized religion fucking sucks. It's so hypocritical. It's so corrupted. Which I do. Let's not get into that on this episode.
Yeah. And if you're just curious before to move forward, I am pretty agnostic. I don't necessarily believe in a higher power. I believe in multiple higher powers. I think Greek mythology is a bomb. And I love Greek mythology. Multiple gods more than I love one god. So there's that for me, and that's it. That's all I'm going to say.
And if I'm being honest, I wouldn't even know what to classify myself as, because I have this weird pull from different things, and I don't know what that's considered. So I'm just figuring it out.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yes. And I think that's all anyone should ever allow themselves, is just figure it out, man. And whatever you believe, I'm not gonna judge you.
Yeah. And cause Brittany, she does believe in ghosts, and I don't, but I don't judge her for it. I'm I think it's kind of silly, but I don't judge her for it. I'd never be you're an idiot for thinking that that's real.
As long as you have taken the time as yourself, as your own person, to figure out what you believe in, it's cool. You and me are cool.
Yeah. And I definitely want to have open discussions with people, because like I said, I am still figuring it out, because I grew up in a very strict household that did not allow other things to be okay. So I'm trying to expand that as I keep growing up.
That's fine. But, yeah, I love that. Just be you, babies. Yes. All of you be you.
And I'm down to talk about anything with anyone. I like to have discussions. I think discussions are fun. You can have a seat at my discussion circle.
Yes.
I forgot where I was. Oh yeah, so if you're me, it happens frequently. Apparently if you're Brittany, it also happens pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And it can occur in literally anyone. Or those with existing sleep disorders like narcolepsy, or it may be genetic. It can be brought on by sleep deprivation, psychological stress, or abnormal sleep cycles. And the underlying mechanism is believed to involve a dysfunction in REM sleep.
Okay.
Which, like, I don't remember a lot of my REM cycles. I do not think I get to REM cycles very often, which could be why I have sleep paralysis, because there's a dysfunction in my REM sleep that I don't get to it. And if I do get to it, it doesn't last very long, and it's not, like, valuable. Yeah. Diagnosis is based on a person's description. Other conditions that can present similarly include narcolepsy, a tonic seizure, also called drop seizure, akinetic seizure, or drop attack, which is a type of seizure that consists of partial or complete loss of muscle tone that is caused by temporary alterations in brain function, and it usually lasts less than 15 seconds. So it's not like a full-blown seizure, like where it can last a couple minutes. It's just like a quick seizure.
Okay.
And hypokalemic periodic paralysis, which is a condition that causes episodes of extreme muscle weakness, typically beginning in childhood or adolescence, which involve a temporary inability to move muscles in the arms and legs. So, temporary paralysis.
Yeah.
And those attacks cause severe weakness or paralysis that usually lasts from hours to days. Days. When I have a sleep paralysis episode, when I wake up the next day, I can barely move. Like, I had a sleep paralysis episode once before coming into work, and I was just I could barely even drive the car to work. I got into work and I was barely moving. I was I just need to sit down because I could barely move my muscles. It was bad. But it is pretty common when people who have sleep paralysis, they get that really weak feeling in their muscles for hours to days. Which luckily mine has never lasted days.
Yeah, I'm pretty used to it.
Can't imagine it lasting days, but... So then treatment options for sleep paralysis haven't been studied that much. Yeah, of course.
Shocker.
But I have figured out that sleeping on your side helps a lot. And it is recommended that people be reassured that the condition is common and generally not serious. Don't know how that helps because, I'm fully aware that it's common and not serious, but it still happens. Other efforts that may be tried include sleep hygiene, cognitive behavioral therapy, and antidepressants. And then between 8% and 50% of people experience sleep paralysis at some point in their life, which is a very large gap.
Yeah.
8% to 50%.
That's a big jump.
And then about 5% of people have regular episodes. So apparently me and Brittany are both 5% of people who have regular episodes.
Yeah, no fucking shit. Why did we get so lucky?
I know. But everyone is affected equally. So sleep paralysis doesn't affect any one group of people any more than another. Whether it's race, gender, age. Kind of regular sleepwalking affects children more. Sleep apnea affects men more. Sleep paralysis.
That's interesting.
Does not matter.
Yeah.
Sleep paralysis has been described throughout history and is believed to have played a role in the creation of stories about alien abduction and other paranormal events. So, some of those paranormal events and alien abduction stories that people come up with are really just their sleep paralysis.
Or both.
Okay.
Or both. That's all I'm saying. We're already at 4 hours, or both.
It is! That's the end! I'm done! Yeah, so like I said, my sources are my psychology notes from high school mixed with what I remember and have looked into on my own for funsies over the years, and SAATVA.com for sleep disorders, because even though my paper that said test tomorrow has sleep disorders on the list, I did not have a single note on a single page in my notebook. That's the end! We're done! I'm all done with sleep.
Yeah, I loved it. No, yeah, that was very interesting.
Was it?
Yeah,
I was kind of worried because, I thought it was interesting, but I also knew it was very definition heavy, and I was I don't know if people are going to like that.
I mean, I guess as someone deeply troubled by sleep, I found it very interesting.
But I just find anything psychology super cool. I already I'm ready. I want to cover the other altered states of consciousness. I want to cover sensation and perception. I want to cover personality. I want to cover abnormal psych. I want to cover, like...
I'm sure you'll get to. Yeah. And on that note, next week!
Oh, I gotta make the fucking wheel for the drinks.
Yeah, do that.
Damn.
So close.
So, for the drink, we spun and we got white wine. But we've had white wine for 2 weeks in a row. So, I spun it again and we got Brittany's choice. And her choice that she has been thinking about for a while was Moscow Mule. Which I actually kind of like Moscow Mules, depending on how they're made. So, I think we should do Brittany's choice and go with a Moscow Mule. And then, do you want to tell them our topic?
And our topic, although it looked like it was going to be music, which we were
so excited about.
We were both really excited for. But it ended up being true crime again. And Skylar cheated the last time it was true crime, and she went to cooking. So I'm not going to cheat this time. So
we should only be allowed to cheat if it's like in a
back
row,
to back,
and if it's heavy like that, like if it's like 2 cookies in a row, I wouldn't be mad. Or if it's 2 paranormals in a row, I wouldn't be mad. But like when it's heavy, like true crime, I think we should be allowed to skip.
So we are going to do true crime again next week. So hopefully you like true crime podcasts, because that is so far our running lead on this podcast.
And apparently it's a lot of white wine, but we did skip. Because
we did skip. We're going to do Moscow Mules, which is, vodka, so it's kind of like a Skylar episode anyway.
But I love vodka a little too much.
So yeah, we hope you join us next week. We thank you so much for listening. If you want to contact us, you can get in touch with us on Gmail at sipandspin, the letter N, sipandspinpod@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at sipandspinpod, both the same. And if you want to talk to me personally about the bullshit that I talk about, you can get in contact with me at Gleam YKS, so Sky backwards, just Gleam YKS on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok. Literally everything I have is Gleam YKS. Or if you want to talk to Brittany about how awesome she is, you can get in contact with her at... If you look in the show description, my link tree is there.
Oh, I have a link tree now, by the way.
Oh, we'll add that then. Yeah, because my handles are typically Whimsy Dreams, but it's with or without the S, depending on who stole what from me. So it's complicated. I can't keep up with it, but look in the description. You can find it there. And also, I have another podcast called It's Literature. Which is a book podcast if you like reading. Look for
and
me
they
there.
Do episodes bi-weekly?
Bi-monthly.
So every 2 months?
Twice every month, because bi-weekly would be twice a week.
No, it would be once every 2 weeks.
Someone told me bi-weekly was twice a week.
I'm pretty sure it's once every 2 weeks.
That's what I thought too, but I said it and they were like, so twice a week? I was like, no.
Oh my god. Literally, I googled bi-weekly. Done, produced, or occurring every 2 weeks or twice a week. So it's both.
Okay, well. So it's twice a month. Once every 2 weeks. Because reading is a lot, guys.
Yeah. Which I'm always hoping that, because we do have a lit topic for literature. So I'm hoping that when we get literature, it's not the same week that Brittany has to do literature for her other podcast, because that would be 2 books to read in 1 week.
I got this, guys. I got this.
She doesn't sleep. I'm worried about her. You heard about all the things that can come from not sleeping.
Guys, it's fine. I've got demons. We can all deal. There's pirates and they want to eat my stomach. It's fine. But if you like books, look for me there for twice a month. But we thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you. You're the one who always comes up with the stupid ass fucking slogans at the end of the thing. They're always so lame, but it's fine.
We'll sip with you next time.
God damn. It doesn't get better.
She likes it.
I don't.